The Dent Slayer, Matt Boyette. Thank you so much for being here.
She's smooth, boy.
So today I'm wearing a sweatshirt from my local high school here in Jacksonville. So I figured I'd tell y'all a fun story from high school. So I'm sitting in this class, and separating me from the teacher's view is a file cabinet. So if I lean back in my chair, the teacher can't see me anymore. But if I lean forward, I can see her and like pay attention and stuff. So I was kind of a class clown. When things got boring, I felt like it was my duty to kind of liven things up, right? So she's teaching. It was an AP class where you can get college credit if you pass the AP test. But I wasn't going to take the AP test because I didn't really understand that. Like, I didn't understand you're going to get credit for 3 hours or whatever. And I thought, 3 hours? Who cares about that? You get what I'm saying? Credit hours. I didn't understand. So I was like, I'm not taking this dumb test.
Why did you end up in an AP class, or from the start? How did that?
I got good grades in high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but I wasn't really trying. So behind me was a window with those old thick metal blinds. So the whole class could see me, but if I leaned back, the teacher could not see me or the window behind me. So I take, she's teaching. I take paper and rip out little Z's, like a Z, like 2 inches by 2 inch Z's with a little tab, and I start hanging them up behind me one by one. Z, 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 Z. So everyone is looking at me. They see just Z's above my head. And then I've just acted like I was falling asleep. And so I have these Z's. And so the whole class is like giggling and laughing. And she doesn't know because she can't see it. But at the end of the class, I forgot to take those Z's down. So she eventually saw that, and everything kind of came together. And my next test that I got back had those Z's stapled to the test.
Oh, no.
And it was like, it wasn't just one staple, all the Z's. It was like she smashed that stapler 50 times to attach those Z's to the paper. It was angry. And I got it back, and I was like, oh, crap, because I had not thought about that since I got my classmates laughing. And I was like, oh, my gosh. But she never brought it up again, but she was like a scary teacher. So after that, I was scared of what
kind of grade you get?
No clue.
That's one.
No, I don't remember.
You don't remember.
Don't remember. It was one of those classes, too, where they teach with overhead transparencies, and you have to just write down everything on that. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Horrible.
What grade would that have been?
I don't know. Junior, senior?
Oh, okay. High school, yeah.
Yeah. So today, our special guest is Jim Catrambone. How do you say it?
You nailed it.
Dang.
Catrambone.
Oh, it's Italian.
Yeah, Catrambone.
Okay.
Yep.
We might be related because I'm Italian too.
From
Ricci. Calabria. Where's that?
Calabria?
Yep.
It's about central part of Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Owner of Bones Dent Repair in Stuart, Florida. And the website says it's the Paintless Dent Repair shop in Stuart, Florida.
Yeah.
I try to be. That's for sure.
Yeah. Jim, you drove up this morning. How long did it take?
Roughly 3.5 hours to get here.
Okay.
Yeah. Easy drive, actually. I was really
Straight
pleased.
up 95?
Yeah, especially with all the holiday traffic. So
Not a whole lot. It was
No, it was pretty clear to get here. I was really happy about.
Well, we appreciate you driving up for sure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
So before we get straight into it, we have a really big announcement that we're really excited about. So Matt, you want to talk a little bit first here?
Yeah. So we haven't told Jim yet.
Nope.
So
I'm really hyped for this. I have been waiting patiently.
well, so in the past year, we really tried to open up our training, what we're doing. We've taken a lot of in-person training, and then we put a lot of work behind the scenes into building this online training platform, which is just an ever-growing thing. We've built the initial curriculum for the first lesson, or
First course.
for the first course. That's a better word. Which was 14 videos,
19.
19 videos, which is a lot of work. And so we're trying to build into that and to make a nice, our best foot forward into that training camp, if you would, as far as trying to really bring our best into that space, right? Whether or not it's in the teaching, it's in the curriculum, but also in just the experience of it, as far as the video production, the quality of it all. We're just trying to bring our best to. And so that's been really good. That kicked off Black Fridays when we announced that and released the courses. And currently we only have the beginner training. There's a few videos on there, but it's just beginner training. So if guys,
PDR Essentials.
if a guy wants to get into PDR, this is the course for him. An experienced person not going to really find too much value. Maybe you will, but if you're already experienced, you already know how to do it. This is geared for the guy who is completely green, who doesn't know anything about dents. Start from zero. You can come in and essentially learn how to repair dents and creases on top and horizontal panels. That's the goal of the curriculum. But in exploring and doing that journey of building all that and doing dentslayer.com, which we've merged dentslayer.com to be a hub for the training, the tools, and the podcast. But what's really kind of grown out of that is the ability to open that up to other video curriculums through other teachers to be basically a hub for not just mats or dentslayer training, because the way it is right now is the training world is kind of broken up into, Ford, Chevy, or Dodge. It's like the pickup truck. Everybody's got, your Ford truck owners, your Chevy truck owners, your Dodge, and everybody loves those. And the training is you pick a guy, and that's your guy, and people kind of navigate into that. And
you pick that guy, and you're basically committed to that guy teaching you everything, no matter what his strengths or weaknesses are. He's the guy teaching you everything.
And we've realized that there's more out there. And so what we're doing now is we're shifting our perspective of how we want this to be built. Instead of it being just a hub for Matt Boyette's videos on how to fix dents, to other trainers' ability to make a video, to get it to us, and we host it on there. And so it being essentially an online hub for all things PDR training, whether or not it be something specific as hail damage or smash repair or estimating or whatever it is.
Soft skills, sales, business, running a retail shop. I mean, endless.
Whatever it would be that brings value into that space where someone would want to click on that and buy that individual curriculum. The other ones are more of a subscription. You buy it for the month and you get access to all of it. Whereas ours are really isolated to you're only paying for the one-time fee for the curriculum that you want. So you essentially in the future, what you'll be able to do is scroll down through and just pick the one that suits your fancy or whatever, and just buy that one, and you have lifetime access to that video curriculum. So the first one we've done, we've already hosted one that is not Matt Boyette or Dentslayer, and we brought Tom Price, PDR Legends. He has two really old but very valuable curriculums that he's done.
Or DVD sets.
DVD sets. And
what mentioned a few podcasts ago, Bryce learned PDR on one of his DVD sets.
Yeah.
Do you know which one it was?
It was the longer one.
PDR Coach.
PDR Coach.
Yeah.
I believe. I mean.
So there's two right now that we have. PDR Coach is longer. That one's not up yet, but we do have the other one. It's called TNT. Tom and Terry Siegel, is that how you say his last name? This was the first one they did. And I think it's 5 videos, but it's like 9 hours.
Sounds like I'm going to invest in some DVDs.
But you can't, we're not selling the DVDs.
No,
we have
I
them
know,
on
I
our
know.
site. Right. Yeah. But just the historical value is super cool. So it's just like with him, he got us the files. You know, we built that into the website. We're hosting it. And then basically, if someone buys the course, he gets a share, we get a share.
I think that's
how
great.
we do it. Yeah. So even you, like if you feel like you have something to offer, you know, this is not like a super elitist thing where, you know, you have to be famous
Celebrity
PDR guy. Like if you have something to offer, you know, you can potentially put your course on here. You don't have to go through I mean, how long did it take us to build this thing? I mean, it's a lot of work. And just to have that to where, okay, if you just have to make the course, you video it, and then you hand it over, and then, you know, we do the rest. So that's basically, yeah, we're trying to open this up, support your local dent slayer, kind of, you know, dent slayer slogan. Like it's not about all about us. So, you know, anybody can basically join the team, put their course on here, and, you know, help other dent guys grow, and then also make some money in the process.
So the way it would work is they would record in their facility, whatever the curriculum that they want to do. They would edit it, get it, and then we would just take that and we would host it on our platform, and then it's essentially just this hub that people can go to, and they can just buy the individual curriculum. There's a lot of other non-PDR industry other platforms like that for like jiu-jitsu is one. You can go onto different jiu-jitsu websites and you can buy instructionals from different teachers, and it becomes this hub like this where you can just scroll through video after video as far as what they're teaching specifically that you want to learn. So say it's glue pulling, you know, and you've already gotten past some of the other stuff and you just want that specific course, you can just go in there and buy that. And it's not going to be by me. It could be by someone who is better than me at that. And
when we started filming that first course and we realized how much work it was, like even if we did that full time, that's all we did, it would take a long time to build a library.
Sure.
Like what Mike Toledo has, that is a lifetime of work, you know, that he's done. Mm-hmm. And like to build that library, we thought, you know what, we can just basically source the entire community to contribute to this and create something that everybody's a part of, like relatively quickly.
Well, it's that, but it's also understanding that there's other guys around who have this great expanse of knowledge that they probably want to offer, but maybe they don't have the resources or even the ability to host it. Just like the Tom Price PDR Legends stuff. I mean, that stuff was essentially sitting in a drawer, becoming irrelevant because who's got a DVD player, right? Who's going to order those DVDs and go through, like everybody wants things quick now, online, easy access type stuff. And so if we can take those things and put them into a digital format and have them here so that you can access them, we think it's great for the industry. We think it's great for those individual trainers who might be out there like wanting a way to get their voice heard and get into some kind of training space. And so we think it's a win all around. And so we're trying to not make it just be about us, but opening up to others. So
if you're interested in that and you feel like you're some kind of an expert in some subject and you want to do that, just reach out to me or Matt, DM us, or you can email us at dentslayertraining@gmail.com. Or if you like, I feel like there's a lot of stuff already out there, just like these Tom Price videos that, you know, are just laying dormant somewhere. The first course I ever bought was when Shane Jax came out with his blending hammer, and you could buy the hammer with a course. And it was him teaching how to blend with a hammer, and I didn't know how to do it. So I think that was the first PDR course I ever bought with my own money.
That needs to be on
great.
here. I totally forgot about that. But that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, it just gets kind of pushed to the back of the shelf, so to speak, and forgotten.
Right.
And it could be put here and revived, and given there's a ton of new guys coming into this industry every year. There's tons of new guys coming in, and there's tons of knowledge out there that it just needs a platform for that continual access to it. And so hopefully this we're doing that with the dentslayer.com. So we're pretty excited about it. We're excited about the potential for what other trainers are going to come on board. And so we think our industry needs it too. I mean, to be fair, we owe it to the industry, I think, to preserve some of that stuff.
Yeah, so preserving some of the older great content,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And the foundation that applied in the 90s or even late 80s, it does apply to modern PDR still. But even further, when you get to work with somebody out of a different area and they have a strong suit in one category of PDR, big dense hail, you mentioned glue, it would almost be like you're working with that person, right? So if you ever work hail with different technicians, you get around other styles, you see how they approach things. So the more trainers, the better, in my opinion. I think it's a great idea.
100%. Yeah, and that's the whole mindset.
It brings it to reality without being in person, if you're 1,000 miles away. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that, I remember these little things, like it was in his old shop, the Shane Jax course that I watched, and just seeing like, oh, that's how he has his tools. Oh, this is how his shop's set up. Things that he wasn't even trying to teach, where I could glean little things from. So I'm pumped.
And I think too, I mean, our industry is moving so fast now. Like the new techniques are evolving overnight, essentially. And you have to stay in it to be relevant. We were talking about this yesterday, and to where the industry is going. In the last 5 years, it's a different industry. We're repairing dents differently now. If I walked in, you're not going to recognize these tools that are in my shop now 5 years ago. They're completely new techniques, new tools. It's just completely had this huge, climb in the last 5 years that it is different. But what's not different is some of those fundamental core things, or how we got here, right? And so you don't want to forget that stuff. Like, those things will always be timeless. Now, we might change or build off of those, let's just say, because that's a better word. We're just building off of those other lessons that we've already learned in the past. Anything we're doing now is just building off of what's already in our head, or what we've. So you don't want to just latch on to this new stuff without understanding the foundations, or those how we got here. Right?
I would love to see a Brazilian style trainer when you have like open access. If you'll notice, or if you follow any technicians from Brazil, what's common, if you got a really smashed in fender, they'll actually pull the panel off the vehicle, and you're doing direct hammer work to really get the shape. That's something that I'm a fan of. You save your body instead of leveraging with bars. So on the way over, I had seen a video of that. I forget the gentleman's name, but he took the fender off and he completely reshaped it without a traditional bar. The foundation of body shop work and panel beating, it applies to PDR and can save you some time and, make results much, much better. So I would love to see some more conventional approach videos being taught in the fundamentals, because that's what my foundation was. I did start with a DVD as well from Ultra. So I bought I bought 4 starter tools, and I got on the phone because I have analysis paralysis. So I want to buy my first tools. It's a lot of money to get started. I'm telling my wife, and I call up Ultra, and I'm like, hey, I want to start with your beginner set. I don't really know yet what I'm doing. And he's like, you know what? These DVDs are quite old, but they're really good. I think you should give it a watch. He's like, I'm just going to include it for you. And that was...
Who was the trainer? Was it Steve, the guy from Ultra?
It was one of the DVD sets that they had available. He basically positioned it as an item they didn't really sell much of. So he gave me the DVDs when I bought my tools.
But I'm saying, who was the one in the video?
I wouldn't remember. That was about 5 years ago. But I do remember I watched the full DVD set. I found it useful.
Yeah.
I was just scouring the internet trying to find info. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were to say what you could most likely teach a class on, what would it be? Like, what do you feel like you have some good wisdom that would be, you got to choose one thing that would be valuable to others off the top of your head?
Well, I mostly specialize in fixing larger dents, and I'm full retail. So customer service is my number one goal, really treating people exceptionally well. So I would most likely be able to teach someone how to approach a minor collision dent. That's what I would teach. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yes.
All right. You got anything else to say about training platform?
No, unless you missed it, as far as the other stuff, the beginner curriculum, and then
The beginner curriculum. So what is the cost to purchase that program? That's out now.
Ours?
Yes. Yeah.
$750.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
and you get 19 videos, and
Okay.
you get lifetime access to those. Once you buy them, they're yours, essentially online access. And again, in that, to sum up that series, is I take you through. You have no idea how to mount a hood to a hood stand. You have no idea
What tools to
what
get?
tools. I mean, we go through literally the basics, all the way up to fixing hoods and creases on tops and side panels and glue pulling.
So if you're going to continue to create curriculums, that's going to start you off right. You got the beginner one set up. Are you thinking you're only going to have 3 that's necessary to get you to advanced? So you got beginner, intermediate, and advanced, or do you think there's going to be multiple phases in between someone getting to like an advanced level of PDR?
Well,
Obviously,
I would
take
say
years.
I don't think that there's 3 levels. Meaning, I think there's probably friggin' 2 dozen or 1,000 levels. I mean, because it is so niche into like, what do you want to do? Hail? Do you want to do retail? Do you want to do wholesale? Like there's so many little tributaries that run off of this of PDR that they're all really specialized. And glue pulling, GPR. So like you have to. I think it's just an endless amount. That's why we kind of wanted to do it this way. Like I don't think there will be an end to the curriculum. I mean, it's not the way that the industry is changing so fast. Like I said, I mean,
Sure.
whatever we finalize today, it'll be by the end of MTE. There'll be new tools out with new techniques, and you have to stay relevant.
So the beginner platform can obviously set the foundation for a new tech, but do you think that they need to answer the question right away? Are you going to do hail? Are you going to do wholesale? What's your focus in business?
No, I don't think they have to answer that because. So what I do think is,
Would you train somebody differently if they only wanted to be a hail guy versus if they wanted to do big smashed in dents, though?
yeah,
Right?
yeah, but not in the beginner.
Sure.
After I think everyone starts off with my curriculum and the way that I'm doing it. That's a one size fits all for everybody. And then how you want to branch off for that, then we can decide if you want to learn how to get into doing bigger, more complicated body line, fender smash, quarter retail stuff, or do I want to branch off and just go to do hail? Because those are, there are 25-year hail techs who will never ever touch a lateral tension system. They have no interest. So, like they have their niche and they have their tool set, and they're not trying to deviate from that. So, I think you come, you learn beginner stuff, and that essentially sets you on the right path. And then once you have those skills, then you can decide, how you want to go. But what I was trying to get back to is that the way I try to communicate in my curriculum is that the principles that I'm going to teach you will show up in any dent you ever encounter for the rest of your career, no matter what you do. You're always going to fall back to these things. Like I have them hanging in my shop, like some of the curriculum, because I'm always pointing back to it myself. It doesn't matter if it's a caved in wrecked quarter panel that you're having to unfold. All those principles, all those things I'm teaching you are in that dent. I can reference back to and do. Or if it's the most basic PDR, I can still reference back to those, because those fundamentals are going to be in any dent you ever encounter in your life. And the way that I try to train you is that once you know those fundamentals, it doesn't matter if you're 15 years down the road and you're unfolding large damage, you can always reference back to those to help navigate you through that damage. I think a lot of guys get lost in repairs. Like when you have just this huge caved in dent, it's just a constant evaluation of the damage as the damage is changing. But then what's also is changing is your approach, and you have to know how to approach that dent or that damage as the damage is changing. And I think a lot of guys get taught how to fix a dent, and maybe they get taught how to fix a complicated dent, but they don't get taught why or what. They don't get. I try to overlay, if I can. I'm a visual guy, so if I can, I would try to overlay a visual roadmap for you to follow on any dent you're ever going to encounter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that in any point when you're in this dent and you start scratching your head and you're like, I don't know what to do next, you can always reference this.
How to step back,
reevaluate,
mm-hmm.
and to guide you for that next step. Like, it's
7 foundations of PDR. That's what we call it.
Okay, nice. I feel like I should watch this regardless.
We can show it to you later.
There we go.
I mean, I do feel like you would get something out of it. I'm not
I
trying
think anyone and everyone will.
100%.
Because you have a different approach than from how I learned. So, and sometimes you forget some of the simple basic tactics or knowledge that you need to know when you're caught up in doing things your own way.
Here's the problem with teaching PDR, I think, that I've found in my short tenure of doing it, whatever, is that we have a car or we have a panel, right? And we're trying to simulate damage. And so we go in and we create damage and we teach how to fix that damage. But every damage that you're ever going to come across, I'm never going to do the same dent twice, essentially, right? Every dent is going to have different factors, different access, different things about it that is different from, every fender smash is going to be different, right?
I agree.
And so if I teach you how to fix that dent, like if I want to do an advanced seminar with you and you come in here and we create damage, I'm going to teach you how to fix that dent, right? I've taught you how to repair that dent. And we leave and you high five and it looks really good. And then you go home and next week you have another dent, but it's on a whole nother car with different factors. You
don't want him to scratch his head.
You don't want him to scratch
know
his
how
head.
to problem solve it. You want to teach how
100%.
to problem solve. Exactly.
Yes.
For every scenario.
For every scenario.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to teach because it's hard. It's hard to teach a guy and then him leaves your shop and he's calling you back and forth like, hey man, I'm running into a problem here. How do I do this? How do I do this? And I felt like that was just a problem with guys as they leave and they get out into the wild and then they get lost. And so it's like, how do we create this thing that they don't get lost? So that's the focus of my teaching. And
You want to go over those principles?
I mean, we can. None of it's proprietary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all.
It's just a framework of thinking. So
we can, but I don't. I mean, I don't think it will do it justice.
Yeah.
I think they need to log on.
They 100% do.
I think we need to subscribe. Just get right to it.
I think they do too. But I mean, if you want to go through
It's a good value. It's a really good value.
Just go through them real quick?
Yeah, go through them.
Okay. So I want to see if you can remember them all. I remember them all because I've spent
I think
hundreds of hours editing these
I was just gonna
videos.
say,
So I remembered them.
you have an advantage.
I can hear his voice saying these in my brain.
Oh, geez.
Let's see if you can do it, Matt.
Okay. So access,
Yeah.
leverage,
Yeah.
tool selection,
Yeah.
board position,
Yep.
eye position,
Yep.
body position,
Yep.
tool control.
That's it. 7.
Yeah.
Boom.
And so read them off again.
You forgot
So these
attitude.
are these are
Attitude, baby. Am I in the right mental space for this dent right now?
so access, eye position, light position or board position, body position, leverage, tool selection, tool control. So, for instance, there a guy, people will reach out to both of us, and like a beginner guy he was like, something's wrong with my board. Can you help me figure this out? Just like a random beginner.
Yeah.
And it was an eliminate board, and he's like, look at how it's showing up on the metal. I think something's wrong with the LED strips. And I'm like, but you can't really take a picture or a video of an LED strip and evaluate it, right?
Sure.
You have to see it in person.
Yes, you do.
And I'm like, the chances of your LED strip having anything wrong with it are basically none, right? So you just don't. There's a fundamental here
It's
that you are
the
not
Indian,
understanding.
not the arrow.
Yeah.
Always.
So it's his board was probably either way too far back. That's probably what it is. And so his board position was probably wrong. His eye position was probably wrong, and his body position was probably wrong. And if he just figured those things out, everything would start lining up. But yeah,
If you're having problems in a repair, you can reference back to those. Now, again, there is another overlay on top of this, so these are what I call static. These will always be in every repair that you ever do for the rest of your life. You're always going to have to address these topics, right? But there are dynamic ones that will be present in some repairs, and like a body line. That's not in every dent, but it's in some dents, right? Stretch metal, aluminum, like there's another list that is dynamic that's always going to change. And so you have to have you ever seen a flow chart where it's like, if this, then that, if that, then this?
Yes, I have. Yes.
That's kind of what I'm doing essentially is it helps you understand. First of all, you have to be able to understand and accurately read the damage and understand what's it called? Self-diagnose, right? So if I'm having a problem in a dent, I need to be able to step back. The worst thing you can do in PDR, and we all know this at this table, is if you're in a problem and you're getting not the results you want, is
Just
that you
push through it.
You dig in your heels, you dig in your heels
further.
further and keep
Yes,
going.
no.
Like that's usually an indicator of a danger zone.
Yes, it is.
And you need to be able to diagnose, to be able to say, okay, I need to back up here.
detach.
But not just but then what is the problem I'm encountering? Is this an access problem? Maybe I need to stop for a second and pursue better access. Is this a tool? Do I have the wrong tool here? I'm not getting results I want. Is this a little too pricky? Maybe I need to stop, get whatever different tip, different tools, getting too much flex. Whatever it is, I'm giving you the ability to self-diagnose. I'm giving you this map that you can overlay all these essential fundamental things. You can go through them in your mind or visually write them down and say, okay, is this my problem? Is this my problem? And self-diagnose. And then once you overlay it with this other one, right? Like the metal's not moving. Maybe there's a crown that's constricting damage that I haven't addressed, right? So that would be a dynamic thing because that's not present in every dent. So I'm trying to teach you how to think for yourself and self-diagnose and identify the problems, and also how to, there is a process for doing paintless dent removal. And I think the process is as true as gravity is, and you can't cheat it. And when you cheat it, that's when you get into problems. And that's when you have less than satisfactory repairs, is when you've cheated something that you should have followed the process. So I'm trying to teach you the process too. And I think a lot of guys teach how to do dent removal, but are we teaching the process? And are we teaching?
So teaching yourself to become self-reliant, because ultimately when you're out running a business or you're fixing vehicles, you're in somebody's driveway, cars in the shop, you're not going to have somebody right there holding your hand, telling you how to fix the problem. So I remember being in the body shop and, skills that was taught to me, the gentleman who trained me in auto body really when I started to get good and heavy collision, his name was Gil. And I used to always ask him for a hand to lift doors off, right? You'd unbolt the door, you'd remove the door. You can do this by yourself if you have the skills. So I would call him and I'd be like, man, hey, can you just give me a hand? Or this is kind of tricky. And he would yell at me across the shop. He's like, Rockstar, how you going to do this without me? And he would, he'd yap at me across the room. And I would be like, oh, wait, he's right. Like, I can still handle this. I don't need him for this. So he definitely taught me how to think through my own problems, step back, have a little confidence. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? When you approach these problems. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very important.
Where did you hear that? What you just said?
Yeah, from Gil.
Slow is smooth. You say that?
Yeah, I know.
We say that.
It's good. It's real good.
Well, yeah.
I live by this for sure with work.
First place I heard it was in the military.
I think it is. Yeah.
They teach it when you're going into a room, when you're clearing a room with multiple people. You have a whole another set of principles to follow because you don't want to kill each other in the process.
So, thank you so much for your service, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, James.
Thank you. So, but yeah, if you have to follow you have to do your role, but if you go too fast, you're going to kill your buddy. So they teach you go slow. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. It's way more important that we do this properly than do this fast, because if we do it fast, there's no way we're going to do it right. Speed will come.
In certain moments, that's very difficult.
Yeah.
So I started to mention to you about the McLaren repair. My client calls me up 10 o'clock. Hey, I got this little door ding super easy. I was like, I'm really busy, but yeah, let's shoot for 3 o'clock. He pulls up 720S McLaren. This is 2 days ago. So he wants me to fix it while he waits. Aluminum quarter panel dent, nothing huge. This is a quarter size dent. But I already know the vehicle. It's braced up. So giving you the story of what I have to do. I have to jack the vehicle up, remove the liner, and just be in a bad position. So getting the vehicle in the shop, he wants to hang out and wait and watch me. And I said to him, listen, if this goes our way, yeah, you can wait, you can watch, I don't mind. I said, but of course, if this is going to be more difficult, we're going to have to discuss just dropping it off. So I begin the repair, and I mentioned to you about your tool. I use Matt's tools religiously. So
thank you for that.
Yeah, they've found their way on the cart for sure. So the 3-piece, it's like the hook.
Upper door set.
Exactly. So the little one of the set, I'm trying regular brace tools. I think it's hidden, and there's this really intricate radiator with a composite bracket that mounts to the inner brace of the quarter panel. So I get Matt's tool finally into position, and I start pushing. I look at him, I go, you and me both need to thank God this tool is working. So I start pushing on it, and instead of just like trying to blast through it, halfway through of getting it pressed, or after I found success of the correct tool, I stopped, I stood up, I said, I'm going to have something to drink before I do this, because it's very important. Mm-hmm. So instead of just being like, I can knock this out really quick, I slowed that little dent down substantially. Ultimately, fixed it beautifully. The guy was cheering me on. But, I made him wait, even though it could have been done faster. Faster's not always better. So that's a big part of how I work. I don't try to be the fastest.
A lot of liability in that repair.
Very, 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 very much so.
You don't want to break
on that. Nothing. So Yeah.
It's interesting you were talking about the room clearing thing because I'm not military. I've never cleared a room. But I watched a lot of John Wick and stuff. And so I would teach when I do my teaching, I talk about like room clearing as an example of if you're military or SWAT and you have to know how to clear a room, you're learning a process. And every building you're ever going to go in is going to be completely different. Whether or not it's a subway or a skyscraper or a house or a bus or an airplane, you got to go in and you have to have an overlay process that you follow all the time that prevents you or others from dying, right? And that has to be an adaptable process that overlays any environment you're going to encounter. Like how do you do that, right? You can't teach the thing, you have to teach the process of the thing. And so that's exactly how I look at how I'm trying to teach people is you need to know the process because every dent you're ever going to encounter is always going to be different than one we just did in training 2 hours ago. Like it's never, ever going to be the same. And you have to know how to go in there and do that effectively, essentially. And so the process, the process that you can fall back to your training and know how to navigate that. That's how I think about teaching dents. Well, not as beginner or advanced. And advanced, obviously, it gets way more advanced,
Right.
hence the name. But
the only thing that's changing are those dynamic factors. Static factors every time. You're just adding more dynamic factors, and it gets more and more advanced.
It never fails because those ones I have written down are started in the beginner training. And, you know, even the last guy I had in here, I had 2 guys in here that were they're in a repair and they're like, Matt, I'm having trouble X. And I'm like, okay, what seems to be the problem? Look at the board and tell me what your problem is. And if you can, it's leverage. Okay, then I've just isolated the problem. It's a leverage problem. Tool's great. Board position's great. Eye position's good. Like body position, you know, all these things, it's just leverage. Okay, well then what can we do to fix the leverage problem, right? There's things we can do or tools we can bend or whatever that is, whatever that solution is. But at least you've identified what that hindrance is to your success. So it's the same thing. It happens every class. You get the hand raise. What do I do next? And you just point to the board, help them self-diagnose, and then once they know what it is, help them. Now we know how to navigate this, right? What are the solutions? What are our resources we have available to us right now that can give us better access, right? Sometimes that's it. Sometimes that's all you got. Like that big smash quarter panel we did with Nathaniel, we had one access point, and that's from the back taillight. That's it. It was a convertible 3 Series BMW. Nothing through the wheel arch, nothing through the convertible top, all through the one. So whatever access is there is what you got to deal with. But the way I teach it in here is that you're always pursuing the ideal of each of these things. They're very rarely going to be ideal, but you're always pursuing the ideal body position, right? Because when you're on a Rivian for three days and you have to get a chiropractor to adjust you after the 3 days, so you want to be in ideal body position for a good repair, or go through the other 6 there. So you're always pursuing this ideal. Where do you got this you get that crease on the back of a wheel arch down it, and you need to be working it this way, but you have to work it this way, and you're trying to you're everything is less than ideal, right? Like it's not ideal, but you have to be searching for that ideal. And if you're always moving and searching for whatever that ideal is, then you have a better potential for successful outcome.
looking at you, I would say you're extremely well-rounded with skills. So mentioning potential trainers coming onto your platform, what would be an ideal type of trainer? What do you think would complement you and what you have to bring? Maybe something different. What type of, do you have anybody on your map that you're looking at?
I think, so the question, I get asked this, I've been asked
Okay, sure.
quite a few times here recently. I'd like to get some very good hail specific. That's been a question for guys, is going into hail, and that's a very specific niche thing, which is a whole nother topic. I'm saying that tributaries off too, but getting into hail specific training, I think, is very valuable. We got a lot of stuff on smash stuff. You can watch tons of videos for how guys get through smashes.
Yeah.
You know, you've got some, I've got some, Bryce got, everybody's got their own little videos on how they do it. And you can, but not a lot of good stuff on hail. It's just not. Guys just do hail. The guys just put their head down and do hail. They're not really teaching that per se. So I think some of that would be valuable. There's other companies and trainers who are teaching glue pulling stuff, which I think is valuable. I think it would be good to integrate some of that into our training. The glue specific for maybe your body guy and you're not interested in PDR, or maybe you just want the fundamentals of PDR. You're not like leaving the body shop, but you want to know how to fix a small dent, but you also want to know how to move some metal. So like the big GPR, I think would be good. There's room for all of it, man. And not just even the metal moving part of things. There's other parts of it as far as, I got a call yesterday from a guy, 15-year technician. He was having problems with glue sticking to the car, and he was having problems with getting the money he wants. Right? Those are real life, like those are okay. GPR and estimating and dealing with insurance. Like those are two things that a 15-year guy is struggling with, right? And then I got another one 2 days ago, cold glue. He said, man, I've watched your cold glue video 24 times, and it's amazing. I just can't get this Sergio Red to stick. And so we talked, you know. So I what I'm finding is that I all of it I think will complement, because there's such a disparity of one place that you can find the information you're looking for, right? Like the information's out there.
No, I like it.
We're
I
just
like
trying
the
to
idea of
bring
it.
it all into a hub to make it easy to access and find.
So with Insurance James, are you processing insurance for your clients? Are you doing big dent?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I'm
None?
no. The only insurance that I've dealt with is like through a shop, trying to get like a hail estimate approved.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I'm not. If I feel like something is to that level, I'm probably sending it to Matt.
Are you?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, great.
yeah, because
Better equipped.
yeah, and just the pursuing the ideal situation, the ideal conditions and everything. It's like usually if it's to the point to where it's to a certain amount, and there's always going to be exceptions. Yesterday was an exception for me, but I'm not my business is not really designed for that, you know. And I'd probably do better to just keep doing the niche things that I'm doing. You know, I do smashes, but I'm usually not dealing with insurance.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'd rather send him that kind of thing, and then he sends me mobile stuff, and then it all just works out.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. But I'm not. It's funny. It's funny whenever you find your niche. It's like, man, when you kind of weave outside of it, you really find out like, man, business is hard. And if you're not really good at something, it takes way longer than you think, and it's way more of a hassle.
Yeah.
So
I've gotten away from doing mobile alt completely.
Me as well.
Like, you know, it's still advertised that we do it, but I don't have the.
See, that's
the
what I'm talking
bandwidth.
about. Yeah, like both of y'all.
Yeah,
You're no longer doing that.
2
Could you make
years.
money?
I haven't
You
done
could.
mobile in 2 years.
But you have found a
I would
niche.
lose out on a ton of great customers who show up randomly.
But for you, it's just not worth it.
It's not
right?
worth it.
It's
No,
not worth it.
No, even if you replace the entire income of the day, right? If I could match it mobile, I'm sure I could. I would lose out on potential scheduling. The ease of estimates is just what keeps me stationary. But yeah, there's a lot of reasons. I'm not as big of a believer in mobile at all. But yeah.
Yeah. So two things. We were talking about training. Who'd be a good trainer?
Yeah, I hail for sure. So the way I learned PDR is through the internet. There's not any specific trainer that I would point out that goes into the fine details, or how do you tag with a partner? How do you start the car? What panel do you start on? The sequence, all of it. And until you really work in a hail scenario and you work with a hail guy, you won't learn that.
Yeah.
So if you did capture that, as professionally as your other videos, huge hit. I would definitely subscribe to that, because if you can shave off those hours of waste when you're doing hail, it translates to just a better working environment, easier, you are more productive, you save your body. Like, so many. Hail's its own thing.
Yeah, I could see, this just came in my brain, but I could see somebody making a course. This would be totally worth it. Let's say
Woody.
let's say you're a hail guy, right? And people are always wanting to come, hey, let me come work with you. Well, hey, listen, before you come work with me, I've made a video. Go watch it. Go pay whatever it is, because I want you to know how to deal with me before you come here. I work a certain way, and I don't want you showing up here and me having to spend half a day getting you understanding how to work with me. I mean, something like that would even be.
A lot of the people who I've spoke to who work more hail than I do as well, they always mention how, I got to work around this individual. I picked up on these key things, and my approach changed. It's really big.
So two things with who would be a good fit for something like this. Really, man, like, people learn differently from different people. And some people, maybe Matt doesn't click with them and they just can't learn from him, or, different.
Like he said, I mean, people pick teams, and who they want to align with, right?
Yes.
100%.
So, yeah. That was one thing that I was just thinking, like,
congrats on the announcements. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got to turn on the juice and get it going. Well, we've already have with the TNT, but we wanted the framework, which for the website, to be able to support it, to support the growth into this side. When we did our thing, it's like, okay, we don't want to just build something that's specific to what we were doing, but we want the website, the framework that we're hosting it on, to be able to be this exponential thing that we can add and add and add, and you don't have to go in and buy mine. You could go in and buy just yours. You don't.
The other thing I was going to say is that in our business, there is relatively no money in this, like in the training area. There is money in it, but like, the real money is in doing the PDR. So to have somebody take the time to do something like this, you're losing money, right? I mean, like, if you just look at it as a financial thing, should you go chase hail, or should you create a learning platform? No, you should go fix a hail car. Sure. You're going to make 1,000,000 times more money.
I listen to Dent Co, Brian Jump, and he talks about it all the time. He's like, if I train people now, he's losing out on income. He still enjoys it, but
yeah.
Yeah.
But just to have for one person to have the availability to create a ton of different courses is like unreasonable in our business. If we were in a business where you weren't, the ability to make money was way lower, then a lot of this stuff would naturally happen more. So for us to build this platform and say, okay, you don't have to build a platform, manage anything. You just make the course and we'll do the rest. I feel like that's much easier for a guy to say, okay, I can do that.
So
and have the time to do it.
I've asked Matt in the past about adding services and consideration for that. It falls under that same umbrella of how PDR can be more lucrative than other services you can introduce to your shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried, I have a wide skill set, but PDR is the simplest way for me to earn money with my skills. So I stick to it. When you compare it to adding ceramic coating or, wanting to go hybrid and introduce paint and the headaches that come with it, that's something that we chatted about briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't think you can make more, but it's got to be really rewarding, giving all your knowledge and documenting it. You could be an old man in the rocking chair and be like, hey, that's me.
That's what we're after.
Honestly, yes.
That's what we're
all
after
of
is
this.
the people who know that this is not going to be a huge moneymaker, but they're passionate about teaching, they're passionate about sharing, and they're willing to put that time in.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people like that want to give back to a certain amount, but if it's good, the market will respond and people will buy it and you will make money. So
We live in an age where it's too easy to do it. Like, meaning it is hard. I'm not taking away from the heart of it, but you couldn't do this 50 years ago. Like, you couldn't, it was all in a book or pictures or, to be able to take this information and to preserve it in a way, like, we kind of owe it to the industry to start doing this. Like, could you imagine if we had some of Lito's training videos?
hopefully
from
it's
in the
out there
beginning?
and we can get it.
How amazing would that be? Well, anyone watches it and learns, which I'm sure you would learn a lot, but if you just took that away, just from the preserving of it, like
100%.
we totally need to do that. So,
Have you considered, is it Top Gun PDR, the gentleman in California? He's got a lot of online stuff.
Marty Runick,
Yeah,
yeah.
Marty Runick. Excuse me,
listen, we'll consider anybody.
Consider anybody.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if it was Tom or somebody what was like when we were telling him about this and he was willing to share. He's like, well, isn't this kind of like conflict of interest? Like, this is kind of competitive, but you're putting my training on. It's going to be it.
If you view it that way, you
Right,
can't serve
but
everybody. It's impossible.
Right. But we're not seeing it like that. We don't see it as, hey, if somebody builds another course and puts it on here, that's not going to take away from us. Like, this is all going to help everybody the most if we don't see it like we're just competing, but we're all building something together.
Yeah.
I would like to see someone, I won't mention my name because I don't want to call them out, but I'd like someone to make a video on how to, teaching how to repair the Dent Olympics dent and the tools that they use and the techniques that they use.
You have to train for that.
You have to train for it.
You have to train for that. You have to buy a Canon.
But what if there was a guy who said, listen, I know how to do this better than anyone. I've won so many,
I think there is a guy.
There's a
so
guy.
many, so
There is
many
a guy.
trophies.
I thought this guy already has some videos.
Maybe. Have you
got
seen them?
videos.
Like,
If it's the name I
Well-
have in my brain, yes, he has videos you can watch.
so creating some video curriculum,
Sure.
some more thoroughly, I haven't watched them, so
Okay.
but thoroughly documented step-by-step tutorial instructional videos
Get
for
the phone number.
for the process of teaching them, right? Like, not just showing them, but teaching them in a methodically taught way, and putting it on here and letting guys,
So when I convince them, do I get a finder's fee?
That's between y'all two.
Matt wants him that bad. How much you willing to pay? I'll seek him out.
But that kind
I'll
of
sign 'em
what
up.
I'm saying is that kind of like that could be just its own little bubble of curriculum that someone would love to go in there and just, I just want to buy that because I'm going to watch. I'm going to compete next year. Let me see how to fix this dent.
I have asked you that previously. Is the time invested towards training to that specific dent worth the competition? What fuels somebody? Why do you want to go compete if you fix dents every day? Right? Is it just for, I think you mentioned you weren't as interested in competing when you're at MTE. Obviously you have other responsibilities, but.
Bro, like I think you have to go to MTE with the mindset of I'm here. Like if you're just goofing around and you just want to do like the tag team, I know a lot of guys don't. I hope I don't offend someone, but I think
No,
some of
they're
the
trying to
guys
have a good time.
They're just having a
Good
good
time.
time.
Yeah.
They care
Yeah.
about more about entertaining than they do about fixing the dent.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I'm glad they do.
And that's
That's
different.
way more.
fun.
That's
It's
better
different.
for us.
Isn't it? It's
But
fun.
the guys who want to win, I think they have a mindset of I'm going to put everything I got into this thing, and I'm going to go here like I'm going to an Olympic event with the mindset of competing to win and putting my best foot forward.
They're passionate about
They're
it.
passionate about it.
It doesn't it doesn't make sense. Really, probably not.
But in other ways, it does.
Exactly.
Right?
They're passionate about it's competitive. I want to see if I can beat you, and I'm gonna dedicate myself to this one little niche thing. It's like a sport that you create rules for, and so let's see who the best man is.
It's pretty great to watch.
Great.
It is great. Japan looked incredible. For anybody who is aware, Japan just had a huge dent convention. I think, is it ISAR or
IASRA?
Yeah.
Isaraki?
I've only seen images, but man, fly me to Japan. That looks cool.
Yeah, I think they had. I don't know the dynamics of, but it was supposedly the event, the Dent Repair event was different rule set, and I think what was uniquely different about it was they all competed at once.
Oh, that is crazy.
So no
That'd
one
be
had
chaos.
like you start at 8:15, you start at 8:30, you start at 9. Like it was on your mark, get set, go, and everybody's doing it at once, and then everybody ends at once. Like that's kind of unique. It's different.
That is.
It's really cool.
It only works for a certain amount of. I mean, I'm sure that there's pros and cons to that as far as how many competitors can be there and whatever. I'm not saying it's better, but it's definitely different and unique.
So at MTE, with the regular Den Olympics and then the tag team, you basically have like UFC and then professional wrestling all in one place.
Yeah.
So, what do you like better? Personally, I like the WWE style better. It's definitely more entertaining.
The tag team costume.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fun. It's silly, but it's
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a highlight.
You would never catch me doing that, just to be full disclosure. If I did
We
compete,
need bleachers.
it
for
would be
sure.
like-
we need like bleachers, concession.
yeah.
Concessions.
Yeah,
Like
come
people
on, man.
hawking.
Yeah, there should be like concessions on each corner and a bleacher and like,
Yes.
Full
like
out.
some sort of stadium.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
come one day.
and we need and the bangers, the clackers, and
Foam fingers.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, so let's get back. Let's go back, Jim. Let's start at the beginning for your story. We're an hour into this, and we haven't really begun talking about your story. So
For good reason.
let's go. Let's go to the beginning, man. Where did you grow up? And tell us about when you were young.
Sure. Yeah. I grew up in Port St. Lucie, Florida. Since the age of about 3 or 4, we moved there. Big family. My parents had 6 children together. Pretty intense household. A lot of personalities, a lot of people growing up.
Where are you in that lineup of children?
I'm in the middle of the 6, so I'm number 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Port St. Lucie, that's like on the coast?
It is the Treasure Coast. We're on the East Coast, just south of Central Florida. It was a smaller, more quieter town. Really great place to raise kids. Like my street had 20 some odd kids growing up. Always something to do. If you drove through my hometown now, you wouldn't recognize it. It's pretty. It's going to be the next West Palm Beach. It's made national news many times for the growth and population. That's a whole nother topic of living there.
I just saw the news this morning. They said Port St. Lucie just is the first city to voluntarily take fluoride out of their water.
Huh.
Interesting.
Just
I'm
happened
not-
today.
I'm not drinking it.
I saw it on the way into work.
I believe it.
Yeah.
My dog won't drink tap water.
Really?
Yeah. I think it smells, I don't know if it's the fluoride, but I think it's maybe the chlorine or whatever it is. Like you put a bowl of tap water or filtered water. What we found out, because your fridge has a dispenser of water. She was going and getting up in that thing and licking out of the tray of that dirty, moldy water down there. We're like, she's not drinking her water. What is this?
My dog does worse than that. When we talk about what he drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
My dog's name is Zeus, by the way.
Zeus. What kind of dog?
He's a pit bull terrier.
Okay.
About 11 and a half. My old boy. Yeah.
11 and a
old.
half.
Yeah, man. Watching your dog get old is tough. Yeah.
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 So Port St. Lucie. You're in Port St. Lucie.
You're in the
6.
You're in the streets.
You're number 4.
Playing with the kids. What are y'all doing out there?
Yeah,
Tell us
definitely.
about the stuff y'all are doing as kids.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends influence as a kid. You know, grew up playing all kinds of sports. You know, just being outside playing manhunt. You know, we had a lot of woods on our street. You know, never an empty household, whether I'm home or down at someone else's house. You know, getting lost. And
Were the neighbors' parents spanking you? That type of deal?
I was the kid that your parents didn't want to let hang out. So there was some incidents that I got involved in, and eventually I wasn't allowed to hang out with certain kids I grew up with, actually. But, you know, I feel like I shook a lot of that as I got older, of course. But that carried from elementary through middle school. So
You want to share any of those stories?
yeah, sure. I mean, you know, I'm definitely not the same person, but I was pretty rowdy as a child. You know, I'd get in fights and, you know, I would say, what can I tell you? What should I tell you?
You can change names. You can.
Nothing incriminating.
Yeah, exactly. No, actually, I'll tell you a couple stories. So I grew up with some kids down the street. Definitely got into a, you know, fight over name calling, playing sports.
Of course.
Yeah, the dad got
happen.
involved, you know, and that's what kind of ended in me not being able to be friends with them. But really, I would say the most impactful story of me as a kid was in 5th grade. My sister and my father, they visited the other coast, and my mom is home, you know, chipping away at the computer. And
West coast of Florida.
yes,
Yeah.
she went to, my father took a couple of my siblings to Marco Island to see my grandparents, and I'm home with my mom. And I'm in the room, and, you know, we didn't really grow up with much or had much to do. And I'm in my room, and I'm playing on the bed with a candle, and I'm putting paper on it, right? And I'm just sitting there. Just
How old were you?
I'm in 5th grade.
5th grade. Okay.
Yeah, little pyro. So I'm putting paper on it, and all of a sudden this flame gets out of control, and I'm in my bunk beds, right? I'm on the bottom bunk. I've got basically envision a plate with, like, you know, fat little candle. So this flame gets out of control, 1.5 feet. I freak out, run to the kitchen, and true fashion of a huge house, like not a single dish in sight, like dirty dishes. So I reach in the fridge. I'm like, what can I do? So I grab ice. And I run back into the room. I come and I throw ice on it. So throwing ice knocks this candle. The whole bottom bunk catches on fire. I run into the garage room. The garage room was my room, basically. I grew up in the garage. And I run in the garage. I'm like, Mom, the house is on fire. She's like, oh, what? And I'm like, Mom, the house is on fire. So we all scurry, of course. She goes, gets my sister who's in bed sick, and, like, you know, calls the department. Thank goodness they're close by. You know, I caught my entire room on fire, and everything I owned melted to the ground. I mean, it wasn't much, but man, that summer was so rough, like not having shoes to put on your feet, you know, all of my trophies. And then, like, they sent me to fire school, and
As a 5th grader?
yeah, they wanted to put me in juvenile detention. And, you know, so they
Your parents did, or like the authorities?
The authorities, they were like, this kid's out of control, because I'd already been in trouble for fighting. And, you know, they basically were like, oh, this kid's bad.
Menace to society.
You know, it all ended up fine. Actually, going to fire school is incredible. You know, you're hanging out with the fire trucks and exploring the station type stuff and doing community service.
I've never heard of this.
If
Fire school.
Yeah, that's what they did for me, you know, to teach me about fire safety. So, you know,
That's cool.
yeah, it was a cool ending to my idiot decision that day, and thank goodness. But that was around the time that
But every kid does this.
Yeah, I mean,
you just got out of control, but we're all doing stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, there was instances
just did it
from I was
outside.
little. You know, look, I don't want to paint the wrong picture of myself, but I was constantly in trouble. You know, constantly at school and outside of school, and
You just didn't mind being in trouble? Like, it didn't bother you? You were going to do what you were going to do?
I was a lot of energy to to rein in, man.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that I minded or didn't mind.
Mm-hmm.
I just, keeping me busy. Like, you had to do a lot to keep me busy, right? And yeah, so that moment, that around that year is when I realized I was like, man, like I can't totally act like this, you know what I mean? Still things carried over through middle school, high school type of deal, but that's a big one for me.
Yeah.
So for parents of kids like you, right? There's guys out there listening right now who have a kid like you.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? How do you handle a kid like that?
Try not to be. I think that we are meant to judge things, but perhaps don't be so critical. You never know what's going on in somebody's life, right? And why their behavior is a certain way. So if you do have your kid who has a group of friends, one may be the one who acts up, it's usually quite obvious they need more attention, right, in certain areas. Yeah, I do wish that certain parents had given me a better chance, but it didn't affect, how it all turned out and who I was hanging out with anyway, but for sure. Yeah. I'm definitely from like a statistical household where parents get divorced and the outcome of it all, So
your parents did get divorced?
they
or you're just...
did right when
Yeah.
I was around 13.
Mm-hmm.
And I was held back in the 6th grade, and school wasn't good for me. I missed a lot of school.
That was all happening at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And getting introduced to certain things you shouldn't when you're young, real young.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and partying too much and all of that. I fall into it.
I fall into it too, man.
Yeah, I do.
It's
It's tough.
Very similar
I
story.
I don't want to tattletale all over myself.
No,
yeah, and all of it, but it's not good or to be proud of either. But it does. I did eventually push through it all. I feel, I was not a good kid in high school as far as like attendance. School didn't have a good GPA, none of that. I ended up dropping out. And
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
What you think was wrong there? Like, why do you think high school didn't appeal to you? Like, what was the disconnect for you?
Well, I'll relate it, at least my decisions and behavior was because it was quite easy for me to get away with things when I was young. I had a lot of freedom. I had a lot of rope to hang myself with, so I just think I didn't take it very serious at all. I was quite bright at a young age, but the application of it. So I didn't find interest in school.
Was it the learning? Like,
yes, you couldn't sit me. I had ADHD.
Okay.
You couldn't sit me in a class for 8 hours. It's not what I needed. I needed sports, energy.
I didn't do good.
Yeah.
I didn't do good in school either.
Yeah.
But I know I can learn. I feel like I can learn anything, but I have to be interested in learning it. If there's no interest in me learning it, and I am
Exactly.
I am a brick wall. You ain't getting nothing in there if I'm not interested. And I felt like in high school, nothing was piquing my interest, and I'm just going to class and I'm just there,
Sure.
and I never felt like any urgency to be there or to stay or to learn or so I'm out of here. But I just think it was the learning, because I look back on things now and man, I'm a student. I love learning.
Yes.
If you just say, do you like learning? Absolutely. I learn as much as I can, but only about certain things.
I think if I grew up in, the time where you had trade school access early on, that type of course, I think that's so, I can't believe that my generation's missing out on that type of influence. And
Did you have that in yours?
no, we didn't have shop. There was like an engineering course or something like that, but I don't know at the time,
We had welding. We had
Yeah, I
woodworking.
wish. If I had that type of stuff, I would have.
Had drafting. I loved all of those.
Yeah.
Home ec, cooking. I loved all that stuff.
Yeah, I did home ec.
You put me in like American history or like.
Because growing up, so my father was, craftsman himself. My dad's a great woodworker, building homes. My dad built boats when I was young, so I was around like using your hands since I was a baby. baby. So, stuff like that is what captures my attention, right? Yeah.
It's because we learn differently. Like, I do believe that having 4 kids, they don't all learn the same. Like, they learn at different paces and environments,
Yeah.
certain times of the day, like everything. We homeschool them, and so we've learned if you try to and I know this because you try to put me in that box and say learn like everybody else, then I just jumped out of the box, right?
Yeah.
But doesn't mean I don't like learning. Just I didn't like learning in your box. What is the box I do like learning, and let's figure that out. And I think we kind of missed that. We just send everybody to the box and grade them on how they learn inside that box. And some do good in it, and the ones who don't, we just throw them to the side as far as dropouts or whatever they are, troublemakers, degenerate kids.
Homeschooling has gotten very popular these days, I feel, is probably.
Well, COVID pushed it back.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like COVID.
But the direct influence on your children, I think.
Before that, all the homeschoolers were freaks.
Can you deny that?
All the homeschoolers were freaks before COVID. And now after COVID, it's like, oh, I might need to look into that. I've been wanting to get my. It's like, it's freaking right.
So my oldest just graduated high school last year, and most of the kids, small school, it's a hybrid school, so they are homeschooled and they go to the school. But it was a small class, probably less than 20, maybe around 20, and I think there was only a couple kids who didn't go to college. And so one of these kids is my son's good friend, and he was during high school, he was kind of helping out with a HVAC company. It's like a helper. And so he just planned on working for that HVAC company when he graduated. And he hasn't even been out of high school for a year, right? And he is an HVAC tech, and he's making like $80,000 a year right out of high school. And this kid is very capable. So like my son has an older car, and like the other day, I think he went to his buddy's house and they replaced an axle on this car or something crazy that I have no idea how to do that. And this kid and my son, they're like, we can figure it out. We can do it. And I'm like, how many humans could just do that? That's unbelievable. And the amount of talent that, that kid has and the drive that he's showing is like, man, this dude's killing it. He's 18 or 19 and but he's not that traditional success in the box success.
Well, exactly. It's because that's I had shop and when I was in high school, we had wood shop, welding shop. There was cars in there. They were restoring. That existed in the 90s. And then something happened and we quit valuing that. And we only put value on the other parts of education and going to college and not the trades. And we just had this huge shift in society of flooding everybody running to college and losing these skill sets or these trades. And that was totally me. I mean, and I love, I don't know if you guys follow who Mike Rowe is for Dirty Jobs.
Of course. I know who he is. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, he going through that whole Dirty Jobs series, he really valued and came to understand the value of these trades and that they were a good vehicle for success, not just everyone jumps to go get a $100,000 education in debt starting out at 25 years old and you're already in debt $100,000 to a job that you're going to fight off 20 other people who are trying to fight for the same job because everyone's running that way. And in the meantime, there's a demand for guys who know how to work with their hands and fix cars and build things and take apart things and problem solve things. And nobody was doing that anymore. And so you take a guy like me who was not running to that, college education, And then we have this skill gap that I somehow stepped into 27 years ago and just straight up, right? And their organization is awesome. Mike Rowe Works. It's really cool because they give, what's it called? Scholarships for
trade stuff.
Yeah, for trade. And they're just really promoting the trades thing.
It is cool. And I think just him kind of glorifying those things where they weren't in the past. I watched one where it was a guy who he just did really swimming pools that someone let go for 10 years, right? And he would go in and clean the pool out, and like, that seems like a horrible thing. But you watch this video of how he does it and everything, you're like, dude, that's pretty cool. Like, I could see myself doing this just because you showed me what happened. Like, I think that's really cool. So the power of just showing something in a positive light and showing the cool things about it.
So think about all the videos that go viral right now. Like, almost like the guy cutting grass. You ever seen the videos?
Yes.
The guy who just cutting the grass.
SB mowing.
Okay, those type of videos. Or restoring an old rusted rifle that they found in the mud from German war.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
what are all those? Those are all, or something being milled on a lathe or on a woodlet.
Yeah.
Lock-picking lawyer.
All those.
Locksmith, baby.
All those are skills that we no matter what you're doing, you get sucked into watching these because they're interesting and they're satisfying on some level. So we watch them. But imagine if that's your job and you get to do that. Like, obviously, there's other parts that aren't as glorious when you're the one cutting the grass and it's 100 degrees outside. But there is something satisfying with working with your hands.
Yes.
They get to do that. And I say it all the time in the PDR. It is one of the most gratifying things I've ever done every day. Like, as I'm doing a dent, it's exponentially gratifying. Like, if you were, whatever it is, if I'm making this coffee cup, right? And then I'm done making this one and the next one comes and I make that coffee cup. Like, I feel like that could only be so gratifying because it's kind of the same every day. Whereas a PDR, what we're doing is it's always changing. The dent is always in a different form of repair, and it's always a problem that you're solving. It's one of the most gratifying things I've ever done is PDR. And it's another skills trade that if you focus and you set your sails in that direction and you try to be good at it, it can be very, very financially rewarding and also gratifying at the same time, is all I'm saying. And I think we're slowly getting back to that, right? Like, I think we had that huge shift where everybody runs to college, and then the colleges all get filled and there's no more seats for guys in colleges. And then all the guys, well, I'm going to go do this. And now, I have a Tulsa welding school right by my house. And there's two Tulsa welding schools. There's the welding one, and then there's the HVAC electrical one. And every night the parking lot is full of cars.
Wow.
Where guys are doing the night school.
Yeah.
And there's just this huge rush of people into those things, and I think it's awesome. My mother-in-law is a guidance counselor, or was a guidance counselor up in Chicago, and she said that after kind of knowing me, that she kind of changed how she would counsel people in a way, because it used to always be counseling them towards a higher education in a learning, in a college. And it's like, Matt, some people aren't made to go to college. Some people need to go work with their hands. Whatever, maybe it's your ADHD or how you learn, that box is not for you, but there is another box that you will fit in. You just need to go find what that box is. And we just counsel everybody to the big thing. And it's not where they need to go, right? You're counseling against where they're going to thrive, and to find out how a person learns, where they learn best, what their interest is. And man, if you can find that, I'm luckily, I think I found it. And I think if you can find that as a young adult, where do I fit in, and where's my life taking me in a direction of how I receive and learn and process information, that's the thing, man. So
think about this interesting phenomenon where you have these people that get very successful in life. They make enough money to where they can retire, and they leave their, white collar job, and they go buy some land, and then they become basically a hobby farmer, right? So they, we're leaving the farms to go get more industrial or white collar jobs. And then the people who do that and they make their money, what do they want to do? They want to go back to having a farm, working with your hands in the dirt, having some chickens. Like, isn't that?
I do.
That's so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
it's because it's because they've missed something.
Yeah.
They've missed something. Like, we're made to do that. Like, our bodies are designed, created to do those type of things, right? And we've created a society, and jobs have come out of that, I believe. But we're getting back, like, working with our hands and problem solving and building things. Like, I think humans are created to do that, and are made to do that, and that's where we thrive. And so, yeah, you're going to see guys who've gotten away from that, and they're CEO of a company, and they're doing boardrooms and typing on keyboards all day, and they're missing something, right? So maybe they go home and they get a hobby, and it's woodworking or whatever they do. But why can't your hobby be your job, your career? Like, that's what I say, right? Why can't your hobby, if it's farming on the weekend,
the ideal.
what if you could farm every day? Like, no, obviously, like I
What
said,
if there was a profession where you could farm every day? What would you call it?
a farmer.
Oh, dang. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But obviously, there's a headache part of, like, not all.
Everything has headaches.
Of
But I just
course.
think it's just so funny. Like, my wife's father grew up on a farm, and he had two brothers, and they couldn't wait to get off that farm. One was like computer programmer, one was a lawyer, and one worked for the government or something. Like, nobody wanted to farm. We just wanted to get away from that because we felt like, living in a city and everything was better. But, like, now I just find it funny that people are going back to that.
It's in our instincts, man. We want to do those things.
Yeah. It is. Okay, so high school. So how did high school end up going at the end of the day?
High school was good. I mean, school overall, I made great lifelong friends that I came out of it with. But, I dropped out senior year. I started working when I was 14. I used to help install garage doors. And I got my first, real job at, 15, 16. I worked at Sonic and so on and so forth. So I'd already been working through high school. I dropped out.
Did you wear skates at Sonic?
Oh, yeah, baby.
So, traditional skates or roller blades?
Blades.
Okay.
Yes, that was my parking
Got a
lot.
fruit boot.
That
Oh,
was,
yeah, baby. I skateboarded growing up, too, though.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, Sonic was I made great wages. It was too far away from my home. I didn't have a dependable vehicle to get back and forth because I was making fantastic money, as a 16-year-old. But eventually, that's why I had to leave that job. And, I've had a little filler job in between then. Dropped out of high school, started waiting tables. I moved out when I was 18 and got my first automotive job when I was 18.
So what you were waiting tables when you were 18?
Yes.
So
yes. Until I got my first.
Matt, have you ever
auto
waited
job.
tables?
No, I busboyed. I didn't
Okay.
wait tables.
Waiting tables, I feel like, is the hardest job with the least. The stakes are so low, but the expectations are so high.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? The stakes are so low. Like, bro, you're gonna eat this, but you're gonna eat two more times today. Like, the stakes are not high here, but the pressure is very high. You see what I'm saying? And the money is low, so I feel like it creates a very difficult situation with the lowest stakes and very high expectations.
Well, for sure, there's going to be customers in that they're going to come in with too high of an expectation. Most of the general public's okay, but shout out to my wife, Laura. She works in the food industry still, and yes, people are crazy.
I feel like I
lot of
learned a
personalities.
lot waiting tables.
By waiting tables. You do.
Tell me, what'd you learn?
Multitasking,
Yep.
the speed to operate at, the demand of you in multiple directions, right?
And I would probably say
That was
customer
tough.
service.
Yeah, you do. That was tough because at that age, you're working with much older individuals as well. You know, so people don't really take you all that serious when you're 18 years old and you're working with people who may have been serving tables for 10 years, right? So that as well, you know, most of restaurant industries is not the healthiest environment of people and personalities, but I did well at it, you know, for what it was for the time being. It probably was maybe a full year-ish of doing that. Yeah.
I feel like that is very healthy
It's very
to
good for you.
learn, like, okay, at the end of the day, and it applies to us, you mentioned it earlier, is that we're in the business of making people happy, right?
Yes.
They have to be happy at the end of this, or else I've failed. Even if I've provided a good product, if for some reason they're not happy, we have failed. And I feel like that when you're waiting tables, you know that because your money is tied to if they're happy or not.
Some people come in unhappy regardless.
Yeah.
They leave unhappy. But yeah, for sure. Definitely. You're going to find out how you did very quickly. Within an hour of them sitting down, you're going to have a verdict. And yeah, little tip, big tip. But yeah.
So I have a question regarding this, and I haven't formed an opinion on it, so nobody kill me yet. But you and I go down to, let's just say you and I go eat lunch, and you're paying your bill, I'm paying my bill, but we're sitting down at the same table, eating lunch together. You order porterhouse steak and 2 alcoholic drinks. I get a soup and water. Okay? Your bill's going to be pretty high. Mine's going to be really low.
Yep.
Okay? The server essentially did the same job for both of us for the most part. But she's going to get, you owe her way more money than I do. Do you agree with that or not?
Because the traditional sense, we base the
Tip on the
of
percentage of the
yeah,
bill.
so, but I have a minimum. I do base my tip on time in the correct setting as well. So, you know, just because I didn't spend $100, if I sat down with you and, you know, took my time, sometimes, yes, I will 100% adjust the cost that I'm going to hand somebody. But no, I mean, sometimes that's okay. If you're a sitting guest and your friend is eating a full meal and you're eating something small, you don't have to give them a ton of money. They weren't serving you with a ton of attention.
I'm asking, do you think
Yeah.
a bill should be a percentage? Like, no, do you think a tip should be a percentage of the bill, or do you think it should be something different for the expectation of service?
It's a great topic. In my local area, we have a fantastic entrepreneur. He owns multiple businesses. Kyle G, if you look up our area, he has multiple restaurants. So what he does instead, he has a built-in gratuity. And the service, they all get a livable wage, benefits, time off. So you could say, hey, why are we still paying people in this manner? It was very, very tough, right? Because when I would work and actually get the payment like this, yes, sometimes you're not getting paid what you felt you deserved for all your hard work. And sometimes you do. You're rewarded correctly. But I would say most people get it wrong, at least from what I experienced as being a worker, right? But it's hard to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That specific scenario, like I said, if I'm at somebody's table for like ever, but we're not eating a lot, then perhaps, yeah, I'm going to give them a minimum. I'm not going to hand them $2.
You would just give them
Do you know
more.
what I'm saying? Yeah,
What I'm saying is the guy who ordered that big meal.
Well, yes. Well, because generally speaking, the bill of $100 is going to also relate to the amount of time it took him to eat that big meal and fancy drinks, right? You know,
Maybe.
Because if I sat down for a salad, I'm probably going to be there for 10 minutes, you know. But if I sat down for a steak and 2 drinks, an hour and a half. This is where that relation makes more sense. But yeah, if you have a table where one person doesn't require any service, If they were there by themselves, how long do you think they would sit there? Right?
So you're looking at it as how long the person is taking up the table space.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do. I think that's kind of that's how I view it as well. That's part of the picture and why I think the tip is justified, because they may have tended to you for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think?
I think you should have like a minimum. I mean, when I was doing it, this was 20 years ago, but I remember wanting to have, if it was 2 people, maybe back
$10.
Yeah, something
Sure,
like
yeah,
that.
you wanted something at least.
Right, but I feel like if you're generous, then you have more of a mindset of, I want to pay this, I want to give this guy something appropriate. But if you're more selfish, you're just thinking about, these people, I paid for my food, I'm only going to leave $1.42, and you're like, but I feel like if you are more generous, focused on others, you will usually tip appropriately.
The other part of that answer that could solve that is, why do you think restaurants put mandatory gratuity on tables of certain amounts? Because you may get one guest who's not eating, but they're sitting there for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
Right? As well. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not everything is in a relation of time, because just like our service, sometimes we're quick, sometimes we're slow.
Sure.
Of course. So you can argue it in all kinds of ways.
So do y'all have a tip option when people pay you?
I do, but I don't hand people. I do everything by my phone, and I don't normally put that in front of them anymore. But yeah, people tip.
Well,
So if you handle it, you take the card, and then the next screen says tip, you're just going to skip it.
I'm just gonna skip most.
Because you use Mobile Tech RX?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not like, would you like to add a tip?
So
I don't.
okay. So, but will you send them the link?
To send me a tip, I don't do that. No,
No, I'm like the tip,
payment
the
link.
payment.
I don't do that. No,
You just
I
take
feel-
payment.
Yes. So I mean, I could answer this question that no, I don't like hand them or do it. I do have the feature on there. I don't
skip
I don't
it?
practice that feature.
So the only tips you're getting
Is when they
like
request
they
it.
hand you a cash. Okay.
Or they say,
yeah.
"Oh, is there
Put a tip on there."
Am I able
Yeah.
to put a tip on there?"
Matt?
yeah, I don't take tips. I will take tips, but I like if I have the screen, I'm checking them out. When it gets to that tip thing, I just hit no tip.
Yeah.
And then I hand them the thing. Unless they say, "Oh no, I want to." Okay, sure. But I have it on there because I have other technicians who work here, and they like having the tip option. Me and my wife discuss this monthly. She thinks tips are kind of grody because everybody wants a tip now.
Yes.
You can't go buy a bag of chips without someone saying, "Would you like to leave a tip?"
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, okay, we are in a service industry. Like ours is very much so is a service, right? Like, is a tippable service for a retail dent. I mean, if there was ever a service, PDR is a very tippable service, I believe.
yeah.
But I've told my guys, like, listen, I mean, you're entitled to a tip if someone wants to leave it. And when my guys get a tip, I don't get a percentage of that. That tip is theirs. I get a percentage of the invoice, but the tips are all theirs. So we separate that out. But I think it's up to. I don't ask for a tip. I mean, if my employees want to swing the screen over and say, "Hey, here's a tip screen. If we did a good job for you, leave a tip. If not."
I could see as a business with your employees and so forth that you wouldn't want them to not patronize, but just ask for that. It can go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do work in a service where a tip is totally, I think it's justified in certain instances.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
people love to tip on car service.
I'm just going to tell you, I spend way more time on your dent than I charge you for.
Yeah, I would say in some scenarios for sure.
No, I mean, I would say that almost on every dent, you're getting more out of me than what I charge you for.
That's awesome if you feel that way. That's good.
Like, yes. I tell my, like, if they're questionable, about how's it going to come out. I'm going to say, I try to be honest with them and say, listen, there are going to be some variations. Like there might be a little bit of this, there might be that. I can't make this perfect. There's going to be, so I try to set the expectation level accurate. But you have what me as a trained PDR guy thinks is a subpar repair versus what the average person off the street thinks is a repair. And what I'm saying is my repairs are always way above, I don't want to say always, usually always above their expectation level. They're usually like right at my expectation level, right? Because I'm always never really happy with like a repair. You always want to spend a little more time or tweak this or whatever, you know. But what I say is that I'm usually spending way more time than what they on the dent than what I quoted them for.
You're trying to leave the balance in their favor.
Yes.
Yeah, you're trying to give more value so that they walk away feeling like I got more than I paid for.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Always.
I agree with this as well. Try to under promise, over deliver. It's a real basic for business. You should always aspire to do. I had a great conversation with a detailer. Detail space is extremely competitive. So if you're doing a ceramic job, let's say you price it from $1,000 to $1,500. You're going to have to bake in the price of your overhead and your cost of product. The gentleman expressed, he's like, I just don't feel like I'm making the right amount on these jobs. You know, we cut straight to the chase. He's spending pretty much like 3 days to buff and coat a car. And I told him, I'm like, hey, you're most likely giving this concourse polish restoration that the general public is unaware of. It would make no difference in their level of happiness or what they would feel and value is not a byproduct of this extreme buffing that you're providing. They don't know. So because he's expressing to me, you know, the loss or the low revenue. And I quickly mentioned, hey, if I do one, it's 8-10 hours max. You're getting a full day, right? Which would equal out, you know, a justifiable cost of labor. So what would you tell somebody if they feel like they're losing in every transaction? Like they're charging an industry standard of the price, but it's taking them twice as long. Like our industry standard, $150 for a 1-inch dent pretty much is across the U.S. now. So if you got this guy, and his skills are good, he's good, but he's picking out everything. He's absolutely going wild. What would you tell him to change their mindset? Do you think it's the mindset's wrong and he's giving away the farm, or do you think it's he needs to improve on speed? What do you think?
So that's a great question, and that guy sounds like an amazing person who's doing it for the love of the craft.
Killing it. That's what I told him. Yeah,
he's not looking at the money,
but he wants the money now.
I get it, and that's okay. I think the money second is better than the money first. He's pursued the craft. He's figured out the craft, and he sounds like he's a master of his craft.
He is. He's actually a trainer, for a big brand.
So that is, I think, the right order of things, right? Because other guys get it wrong. They want the money first, and they don't got the skill set or the craft, right? They want to make the money first, sure, and they haven't developed the skill set. So I think developing the skill set, having the love of the craft,
yes,
and pursuing excellence in that. And now you can scratch your head and say, okay, I'm just not paying the bills like I need to. Okay, now we can address how do we raise prices, or how can you explain to this guy, listen, you're spending an extra day on something like you said.
Yes.
Like you probably don't need to do that. You can cut back here. You can deliver a little bit less. You're not any less of a
human being,
craftsman for doing so. But there is this marriage of time, effort, of a repair that we have to all figure out. Like I can only spend so much time on a repair.
James, do you feel the same way? I'd like to know what you would think.
Yeah, so I think he has to do something different because that's not a sustainable business model, right? So he doesn't have his marketing or his product offering dialed in to what he's giving.
Yeah.
So he either just think about what Bryce Kelly does.
Yeah, man.
I can't get the prices that he gets because I haven't built my business to the level that he has.
Yeah.
He has created that demand that I haven't put the work into to do that, right? So in this same way with this guy, he either has to continue doing that with the understanding that I'm going to build a portfolio of videos of marketing material that is going to drive that higher level of business to him and like try to, grind that out over time, or he has to dial back his service offering to what is actually demanded by the marketplace.
That's great. You put that perfectly. I agreed with both of your opinions, and that's the advice given her.
So yesterday, I've never done this before, but I drove several hours away to do a job. The guy found me on YouTube or some social media, and
getting that reach.
So, and I charged him what was a good amount for me.
Fantastic.
Right? Bryce would have probably been at 2 or 3 times that.
You may be
But
surprised.
he didn't. But he wasn't trying to get Bryce's product, right? He was trying to deal with me, and I haven't set that level of expectation that he has, right? So my product offering to him wasn't perfection because I didn't expect that he wanted perfection, right?
But you wanted the guy in the video to show up.
And so
It's powerful.
we're all guessing, right? I'm guessing what he wants because if I'm thinking he wants absolute perfection and he's willing to pay for it, my price is going to be way higher because I can deliver a higher level, but not for
what you normally would do.
Right. So this is all
I love
very difficult.
What you just said as well is a big reason why I don't do mobile. So when you say you expect, you're trying to read the customer's wants and wishes. But are you doing this completely digital? Because I think so much gets lost in text, digital form, misconstrued. So is that a challenge for you? Is that how you operate?
It is very difficult. I do not want to do that very much because you also, when you travel 2 hours to do something, like there are things that could have gone wrong where it's going to make this a nightmare to deal with if I have to deal with a broken window or a broken car part or something like that. But so this guy, super cool guy. He was a car guy, and he had a really nice car, but he sat with me almost the whole day and watched me. He's and he's interested in PDR. He actually watched all of our PDR quick start videos.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So but he got down on his hands and knees and looked at a horizontal crease. That's what the kind of guy he is. And he could see it wasn't perfect. And so he was like, so does it ever get perfect? Is what he said to me.
Ow, what a dagger. Oh,
but I said
Not
yes.
today.
I said it
double the money.
It
and
could.
It's gone.
But it would take days
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
So, but I am guessing what is the level of perfection does this guy want? And I'm trying to match the price and my time to it.
That statement means that guy most likely painted the picture of perfection when you would be done at that cost, right? If it's not spoke to them upon delivery of estimate, right?
But I do. I don't say that I will deliver perfection. Like I don't advertise that.
No, I don't either. Nobody should. But there is things in person that I can say with confidence after evaluating it properly, right?
So
to win that job,
I would say knowing the situation,
Sure.
there was probably I could have charged a higher price
Yes, you
and
could have.
spent more time and done a, picked out
All
those.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there was a,
I try to only win jobs if I can literally do it my way, all the way, as far as I can go. You lose business that way too, obviously, but that's okay.
Going back to your buddy,
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Great guy, by
I
the
think
way,
at some
great guy.
point there's a realization of his own skill set that has to happen. Like maybe he hasn't.
No, but he is, I'm sorry, he is a master, right?
I'm not doubting that.
Yeah, yes,
no,
sir.
No, but does he know he's a master?
Yes, he does. Yeah, no, he's under a chemical brand as a teacher. He'll be at MTE.
Okay, so what I'm saying is like there's at some point if you know I'm different than 95% of the detail guys out here, and what I'm delivering to you is different than what 95% of the detail guys are delivering.
Correct.
Then you put yourself in this other category that value that you're going to get the money that you want, and I had that. I think there's this like awakening or something. Let's just say it, some awakening where you're like, okay, I'm different. What I'm giving you is different, and so therefore, I know I'm going to spend the X amount of time on it, and so I have to get paid X.
Yes.
And so, I mean, has he?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was trying to get across to him, because he almost associates doing the industry standard way of buffing and coating a car as like this bad thing to do or bad product or service. And I was really just trying to bring him to light that, no, you need to understand that most of your clients are asking you for this, but you are wanting to fulfill yourself, which is nothing wrong with that, like you said. If you're trying to develop the skills and the repeatability of being better than the 90% of your market, but ultimately, if you're not attracting the correct clientele who will pay you, then eventually that's going to lead to failure. And you'll no longer even want to deliver that type of service anymore. So
He needs to do better job marketing.
correct.
And present.
And then he could double, triple the sale.
Yeah. Or he could have different offerings,
Yes.
right?
That's what I explained.
And so he could go more heavily on that higher end offering, but then say, hey, look, this is why this is the best.
We all need a concourse dent restoration chart. Straight up.
Do you want a level 1?
I want
level
one.
2, level 3 detail. Like what kind of level of you want in here?
Now, do you want this dent to be all the way gone, baby? Yeah, the truth is I used to try to play that game where it's like, well, look, like I can fix your dent perfect and it'll cost this. But if you want me to make it better, it's that. You just cause confusion. And I do think you need to just define who you want to be in your market, what type of work you want to give to people at what cost. One option. There's always bending of the rule for the situation, but the moment that I stopped getting away from trying to really capture the price cost job and I could just spend as much time as I wanted, the work got better, the reputation got better, and it eventually started to line up with what I wanted to do. I feel that way for sure.
I had to realize that I'm in a business that ultimately has to make money. Like how we were talking about, I'm in a hobby, but I'm also in a business, and you're always having to justify both, right? In your head, as far as like, is this a time to be a hobbyist and spend a lot more time on this because I just want to, like, take this as far as I can, or do I just need this transaction because I got another transaction that's got to come in?
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, not every dent that comes out of here is perfect. It
shouldn't be.
It won't be a business if it is.
Yeah.
Like, it will not generate money because you will spend way too much time. Now, I would say my standard is a lot higher than most PDR guys, and I've tried to make a very, very high standard. But it's excellence. The standard is excellence, but it's never, I don't want to say it's never, but it's very rarely is it perfect because it just would never make sense. they're not going to see the value of the time I would need in paying me
Yeah.
to make something perfect.
Sure.
Right?
Unless you
Yeah, definitely.
did the work to develop the demand.
for that only.
Yes.
But that's also, you are one guy.
I know. I was just gonna say this as
You
well.
have other mouths to feed.
Exactly. Once you discuss scaling employees,
Yes.
you have multiple locations with techs underneath you being managed. That is where it's just not going to be repeatable.
So
It
there
can be extremely high, like you described, totally, and probably better than 90% else. But when you're just operating as one guy, that you don't mind if that one job walked away. I learned that as an employee at my last job, because they would not let anything go. If the customer was willing to pay, X dollars, it was coming in the shop. And, as the tech, when you got handed that type of work, you're like, my work's so good, I'm going to sit here forever. That was the big conflict when I was learning dents and they were selling my dent jobs. So, like, that was always really tough, man. You'd get like a job that would take me like 4 or 6 hours, and especially early on. And, I'd only get like $200. And I was like, oh, this really, really hurts, right? They sell it for $400, I'm getting 50%. And you're like, man, look, you're like not even half of industry. So, yeah. I'm sure you have a great balance of cost, quality, volume. Otherwise I don't think it would already be rolling like this for you.
So you're what you just said though is that
Sure.
Is the ideal situation to where you have now found yourself just doing the work that you want, the way that you want to do it, and you have a full schedule. Like
Yeah.
that. If it's a one-man business, that's as good as it gets.
Yeah, but I know. So I've been in auto body for 15 years. You do have a shelf life. I mean, I know you both are well more experienced than me and of age and fixing cars, but I still love it, of course. And I promised myself that I would get to this year. I'm entering year 5. And I wanted to get to that year before I would really make dramatic changes or consider hiring. And I'm still in the pursuit of skill development, and it makes me happy. It is great just relying on yourself with no outside factors, but I don't feel like a true business and operations. I can't leave and have income being produced.
I created your own job.
Yeah,
Me too.
exactly.
It's not really a
Yeah,
business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, I have gained more and more respect for it as a business as I've continued on, and the professionalism I feel like I deliver, and how repeatable my process is for clients and what they get and how they feel. So I consider it a business. I've lost that mentality of like, I just have a job to do. But for sure, it's not like other businesses are. Definitely.
You're the business.
I am the business.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can't sell the business. I'm not for sale. There's no selling my business. But it taught me a lot, for sure. This is my first venture. This is my first risk of trying to do something. It taught me a lot, right? And I'm watching, so I have other friends in my group who are similar in age and doing small businesses now. So I've realized how great a scalable service can be.
What do you mean your group?
Yeah, I've had the same group of friends since like middle school.
Your friends, okay.
Yeah, shout out to Dean and Tom and Drew and all the other guys. But the 4 of us have
What's up,
small
guys?
businesses. What's up, you guys? But yeah, watching, one of them's a barber, one of them paints homes, one of them already has multiple employees and is doing great. Then watching other workforces are so much easier to scale, right? Look, although training's become fantastic, I think what you're doing is great. I can't like train you in 2 weeks and cut you loose. I could teach you how to paint a wall on a house and let you paint the wall in the house like day one, for the most part. What's going to go wrong? If a guy splits paint and it's $1,200, it's going to hurt. So, in the artistic and the qualities to become a true paintless dent repair technician, and it's you need a very high quality individual, in my opinion. So I think that businesses that are easier to train in a shorter time period or have an established workforce, with schools, like if you wanted to have a barbershop, there's someone coming out of barbering school every week, every month. They're by the hundreds. You have access to a job pool or, a pool of labor. It's much easier. I don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it. I think it's great what we're doing. I love it. But scalability is tough.
It's
tough.
The hardest thing. That I've encountering, because we're scaling.
Yeah.
And so let's just say you've created this ideal where you're doing the jobs you do and the work that you want and the way that you want to do it and the time you want to spend doing it. And now you're getting to the point where you're like, okay, do I bring a person on? And as soon as you bring a person on,
Change the business model.
It's going to change all of that.
Yeah.
And you are going to have to look at that and say, what is acceptable compromise here? Because I'm going to have to compromise something. And you will have to compromise until, at least initially, you're going to have to compromise and bring this person in until you can build them back up to where you are, right? But so it's been very hard. There's a lot of stuff that leaves these shops that essentially has my name on it because it's my shop, but it can't always have my name on it from a PDR standpoint because it's not a business, right? It's just me in here fixing every car, and that's not a scalable business model. So you have to loosen the reins to an acceptable level, and understanding my technicians aren't as good as me, they're not as fast as me, they're not as customer service as me or whatever. Maybe they're better than me in certain things, but I'm just saying, like, when you go to scale, all those things get magnified, and you have to kind of undergo that growth process and let go of some things and start compromising if you want to scale.
Yeah. James, do you have any consideration of scaling? Do you want employees?
No, not right now.
Not right now.
No
but possible
plan of
future?
that. Possible, but not. I have no plans for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
When you both, we'll ask Matt, when you started your business, did you have a full business plan written? Was this all lined up in the future, or this is organic?
Everything's
so even
organic.
like the thought of an employee, right? Yeah, I mean, I've had to not service accounts or pass on business relationships and possible accounts, let's just say, due to lack of labor, because I know I can't be in two places at once, right? It'd be the obvious answer to scale, but I don't know if it's really what I want. Outside factors would say, oh, do it. It could be great, but I don't think the grass is necessarily greener.
So for us, we have retail that we do
Yeah.
through the shop, which has to be super clean. We also do wholesale, and we do some rental car. And we know that the wholesale can be a little bit looser on the quality, and the rental can be a little bit looser on the quality, as opposed to a retail where you're getting 2, 3, 4 times the amount of money. And so the way I scale is those jobs that have to only be touched by me because of the complexity or the customer, whatever, then we can just let me do those. And then I can position my technicians in different areas as far as the wholesale or the rental into areas that they can knock it out of the park. Because, maybe they're not pushing at the same skill as me, but if they're into wholesale, they don't have to be. They can get away with a lot of this quality, so I can scale into that. And even in the retail side, you have easy dents and hard dents. You have 3-day repairs and you have 30-minute repairs. And so, like at one of my shops, we have a technician named Andy. He's an amazing technician, and we consider that my speed shop. And so I try to send all the let's just not easy repairs, but the easy and the mid-level repairs go there, because he just crushes it doing easy mid-level repairs.
Yeah.
and he's a one man. He's there by himself. Anything that's super complex, it's going to take a lot of time. It's got insurance and back and forth. We send it here because I have another technician, Salo, who is here with me essentially every day. He can help me remove panels. I have essentially an assistant. And so we've even, what I'm saying is we've manipulated my business in a way to put those technicians in places that they thrive, is what I'm saying. And having a business that does the retail and the wholesale answers that for me, is what I'm saying. Because there's always a place for them. I mean, my son can fix hail damaged cars now, and I can even put him on damage that he can do and knock out of the park. You know, I can put him on wholesale or rental car company hail, and he will crush it. Would I put him on a complete retail? Depends on the job. If it's Dickel. If it's dime or nickel.
Pickle.
If it's dime or nickel size hail, he can do it. If it's, $50 stretch dents, that's not the car for him.
Sure.
I kind of move these guys around in my business in areas that they can function.
Yeah.
So I think it's how your business is what I'm saying. If you want to scale,
Yes.
if you want to bring on a technician, you might have to start, you got to find work for them.
For sure. Like the conversation for me specifically, I know what I would have to add and change and do and expect from all of it, to go down that path.
Mm-hmm.
I've committed myself towards this upcoming year of just staying on track. And you can really create a lot of junk in your headspace listening to these things of, trying to pursue the next best thing.
This is very interesting. I want to go down this path.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, for me, because it's a hot topic. A lot of guys, want to do it all. And for me, I started to lean that way, especially because of auto body. If I was more financially driven, I 100% would be painting bumpers, minor collision, the stuff that I send out day in and day out, and it would all require adding pieces to my puzzle. But so far, the way the journey's treated me and doing my little business is I don't think changing it is really, I don't think I could justify it just yet. I don't have any shortcomings that makes me unhappy. So why really move it all around for the sake of finding out? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think this year I took a bit of a down year, like a little bit, I would say a little easier on myself. I think I'm pretty motivated towards work for 25. I'm hoping it's a good year if I can create it. And we'll see if I can save up. I mean, the next big step, because I do retail, is to, of course, think about owning a building, owning a shop. So that's what's driving my brain crazy, is looking at commercial spaces. Mm-hmm. The cost of that's nuts. You can really lease a lot cheaper than you can own currently. That's even goes to primary residences for most people. But, if I can find the right shop or place that's going to retire at a certain age and I can find something off market, I would love an opportunity. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your plan is to, invest in this building, and then maybe that's part of your exit strategy whenever you're at the end of the line.
Yeah,
working.
It should be for most people who work in a retail space. You should try to own the property. It adds significant value to your business. It gives something tangible for somebody to buy. If you want to do retail, if I wanted to have techs, I would need more space regardless. I think I could provide better service in a bigger, better space. It doesn't need to be as big as the stuff I'm looking at, but who knows? But yeah, I went and visited a CPA this past week, and he's like, "Oh, I know a dent guy. He's my client. He's going to retire in a year. You want me to put him in touch with you?" I was like, "Well, what does he do?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, he services dealer." I was said, if he only does dealer accounts, you really only have a customer list. It's really not worth anything. You're going to end up selling your tools, sell your truck. You don't really have a business, because what we do is situational and people aren't coming back again and again. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're talking about different ways to build a business, and I think the thing that everybody thinks of is, yeah, you want to scale it as, as big as possible, and that's your kind of avenue to success. I'm just saying what's kind of cool right now.
Yeah.
But man, for me, I'm really trying to figure out what am I good at? Like am I good at scaling a business and having a bunch of people that I manage and lead and work for me? And like right now, I don't think that that's what I need. I would rather be, I don't think I can handle that right now. Like, I don't think I could put a limit on it. Like even with the business, my little business was just me. And then the stuff we do for Dent Slayer, like I'm always in the weeds. So like, I really feel like you have to think about your own life, your own situation, your own family situation, and think there are multiple paths to, basically, like getting to a point to where you can retire with some kind of dignity, right? Because that's, financially, that is probably most people's goal is like, okay, I can't work forever, at least not like this. So I have to make a plan. I either have to build a business that creates money after I am at the end of my road, or I have to save enough money and invest enough money to where that creates some kind of income. And so I feel like there are so many different routes you can go to that end. And depending on who you are and your strengths and weaknesses and all that, you got to think about all that.
So with my current choices, I think if I just stay on the same path and I were to take some safe investments with Roth and, standard investment accounts, I can retire at a good, comfortable age, the way I've made some choices. But it's definitely an aspect of business or my general life that really haven't had the best guidance. You know what I mean? I don't know about you guys. Did you ever have somebody sit you down and be like, hey, start young, start investing into these types of accounts. This is going to help you retire one day, because you don't have to have a building to sell, right?
Right.
To retire. That's something I worry about a lot, right? Financial stability as a whole, right?
Sure, it's a big part of our roles as men, fathers, husbands. We're carrying that burden to make sure our family is taken care of.
Yeah, I don't want to worry about the lights getting shut off.
Because you have
felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still haven't fully answered it. I'm doing more things now, investing into investment accounts to help myself out, putting money aside. But I don't know.
I think you also have to take into what's your personality. I'm less. I don't traditionally take a lot of risks. I can work hard. I can grind, and I can save money. That's easier for me to do. I did have a guy when I was young, when I was in the military, who told me that, set up this account, put money into it, and then kind of did the math and said, look, if you do this money over time, look at the money at the end. And I was like, that's crazy. That's all it takes to have $1 million, $2 million, $3 million down the road. Like it really, if you start soon enough, it doesn't take that much.
Yeah.
I remember when I worked for Dent Wizard, the managers I would talk to them about 401k or whatever, and they're like, dude, we can't get these guys to contribute to a 401k. Like it was hard for them. And I think if you offer that, you have to have a certain level of participation. So I think there's always pressure to get employees to participate in that. But I would say the from that guy, what he said, the majority of employees were not contributing to something like that, which is interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't. He got me to start contributing. I forget what year that was, but
I did.
No, the manager.
The manager did.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Ross.
I didn't know him, but I remember
it's either Ross or Bob Schwins. I don't remember, but they sat me down and they're like, Matt, you need to start putting money in that 401k.
Yeah, I never had that at any employee.
And I was like, well, then I'm not going to have enough money for tattoos at the end of the week
There you
if
go.
I do that.
Delayed gratification.
Yes.
That's the next part. Yeah, I mean, it's a balance of living in the now and then planning for your future. You know, it's not promised, right? Big believer in that one. You know, we don't know how it's going to end up. So, you know, you got to do certain things for yourself now. I've become so conservative that I feel as if I'm getting in my own way of allowing myself certain rewards. You know, maybe they're not necessary, but like the topic of buying a building, I keep saying to myself, I'm like, if you don't buy yourself a different car, or if you don't do this, if you just save all this money, you can just, you know, eventually you'll be able to buy a shop. But then if I really step back, I'm like, is it even the time for that yet? Or are you just like that far ahead of yourself in your brain? Like, what if we don't even need to get there? What if you don't even need to own the shop? Is it even going to matter or change like the end game? What's the end game and goal, right?
So this is a big balancing thing.
Yeah.
I tend to be more conservative. I was going to say when we were talking about the 401k, I remember sitting down with you one day and like because you were thinking, I don't know how we were talking about this, but you showed me how much you had in your 401k and I put it in a financial calculator and I was like, well, dude, with what you have now, this was a long time ago.
Were you guys in your 20s maybe or 30s?
Yeah.
I was in
You're
my 20s. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you got a head start.
And and I was like, well, dude, look at the math. If we just do the math out, this will be a couple $1 million as it is now. So you can just think like, okay, when I'm 60, that money's probably going to be there, but it might not, right? We don't know,
Market's
but we're just
going
trying to be good stewards of what God's entrusted to us. But then we're also not putting our hope in that, because it might not be there. We're just trusting, okay, God's going to take care of us one way or the other, but we're kind of just being responsible in doing that. But at the same time, what you're saying, like, Matt, you have an interesting tattoo. Where is it at is it on your hand? Your snow leopard?
Yeah.
You want to talk about the snow leopard? Because this is a whole
Yes.
Dude,
is a
I
good
watched that
story.
movie. I watched
Let
that
me see
movie
it.
last night.
Let's see it.
okay.
Okay, dope. Yeah.
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 So,
He's got a snow leopard on his left hand,
so
head
the
of one at least.
Secret Life of Walter Mitty is where this came out of. If you've seen the movie,
No.
you got to watch it.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
I never saw it either
Ben
until
Stiller.
you made me watch it.
Good. Oh, Stiller.
Ben Stiller. He's some dude who works at Life magazine, and he's the one who takes the pictures in for the cover. Like there's all these photographers around for Life magazine who take photos of whatever majestic things, and he's the one who receives the photos and processes them and does all stuff.
This is in the time where it's mailed in, right? This is not like digital.
Yeah, mailed
He
in.
takes a mail.
So he's just some guy who's always in a cubicle processing, and he's getting all these majestic photos from this photographer who's going all around the world, having these cool life experiences, taking photos of what he's doing. And so he's feeling inadequate in his life of, I'm sitting in this cubicle in this sterile environment where this guy's out here living. And so anyhow, he goes to, you got to see the movie. I don't want to ruin it.
No, yeah.
But he goes and he loses the picture. He has to go find the photographer. So he finds the photographer, and he's in the Himalayan mountains. That's where the guy's at. It's Sean Penn is the photographer. And when he finds him, he's got his big, huge telephoto lens out, and he's waiting for the snow leopard. And these snow leopards, they call them ghost cats because they're very, very rarely seen by humans because they're stealthy and they don't want to be seen and found. So this majestic, beautiful creature that's hardly ever seen. And so he's got this this camera set up with this huge telephoto lens, and they're talking, and then this cat, the snow leopard, comes out, and Sean Penn's got the camera, and he's about to take a picture. And he's got his eye down here, and he's like this, looking at the cat. And then he pulls his head out of it, and Ben Stiller's like, "You want to take the picture?" He's like, "No." He's like, "What are you talking about? You've been waiting for this, take a picture of this cat." And he's like, "Sometimes I don't do it. I just the moment's just for me. Like, I don't want the distraction of the camera or the, I just want for me to be in this moment, not for everybody else. And so it's a really cool thing of like, not always living for everybody else or for the business. It's just taking time for yourself and you enjoying it, nobody else.
Dents are still my ultimate hobby. Like, love fixing the dents on the cars. That was something I was gonna talk. I like how he says that, how you take it for yourself. There's for sure moments this year that was just for me to remember, you know? Yeah, like I love to fish. And during summertime, I took a full week off. And
I think I remember seeing that on social media.
Yeah, did you? Yeah. Man, I had some epic catches. I caught I got 200+ pound tarpons. Got one of them to the boat. Got him by the face. But yeah, so during this summer, I took a week off, and I remember I ran the beach, right? You'll go out the inlet. I have a flats boat, and I just, got up before the sun, and you're just out there by yourself, and I'll run the beach, and I'll find like a huge pot of fish, and you'll like spot them. Not if you don't fish, I won't get into all of it, but basically, you're just not surrounded by anything except for this beautiful moment, right, where you're getting to experience things that nobody gets to see. No one rarely gets to experience around wildlife. And, instead of whipping out your phone and trying to be like, oh, let me take a picture of this and that, man, sometimes you just got to sit down and just soak it in for a minute. So that's one of those things that I get to do that allows me a true escape from the world. And, most of the time the phone's not, definitely not out.
So there was a family situation tied to that.
So I was in Australia.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
That's good. It's all good.
But when I got this in Australia, and when I was there, my niece's husband died of cancer. He had stage 4 cancer. It ate him up, and he died. And so I'm in Australia, and I can't come home to visit or to be part of the funeral or the experience. So it's like, how do we process him dying? What is our response to this? And how do we? Plus, he was young. I mean, he was in his 30s.
Oh, wow.
He's 30. He's had a 5-year-old kid, and he's 30, and he died. So it's like, what are you supposed to take from that? And so I was like, you know what, man? If that guy knew that was coming, he would have probably lived a little differently. Like, if you knew you were going to die tomorrow, you wouldn't be worried about a building in the future. You know what I mean? Like, you would be focused on different things. And so, like, I got tattooed on my hand because I wanted it on my hand. Like, people don't get tattooed on their hands because they're scared of, like, I'm not going to look this way in society, or I can't ever get a job. And, like, you're not because you don't want to, but you're trying to fit in with society.
They're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Doing it for the wrong
avoiding
reasons.
it for the wrong reasons.
And so I was like, screw that. I'm going to do it because I want it. It's for me. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm going to get the snow leopard on my hand, which is, I guess, a rebellious way for me to say, I'm just going to live my life for my way, not everybody else's way. So the whole Walter Mitty, Australia, snow leopard death thing happened on my hand there. And it's really bad.
It's pretty great, bro.
It is good at first.
It's pretty great, bro.
At first, he didn't color in the snout, and it looked like a penis. And
how can you end the story with that?
Literally, I got a picture of it.
All I see is
No way.
teeth, bro. You
So-
may see penis, but me and James, we see teeth.
Dude, because he's got a pink snout, and this was flesh colored. And I came home, and my wife's like,
Old dickhead.
you got a snow leopard with a penis nose. And I was like,
I'll stop.
get out of here.
Let me see.
It's like, get out of here. And so
I'll keep the
I
joke
could
that
not
way.
unsee it. I could not
I didn't
unsee
see it.
I've never seen that.
So I
Yeah.
went,
All I see
teeth are very-
All I see is flesh.
because this was all pink.
Okay.
And so I went back like to the artist like the next day, and I was like, dude, I can't unsee this, bro. You gotta color this now.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I'll try to find a picture and show you. It was.
I'm colorblind, so it might not. It might not pop right.
It might not have the contrast, but yeah, it was definitely a schnoz.
Yeah, Laura's father, rest in peace. He's really who kind of that was the pivotal moment in my life that really kind of hit, of taking advantage of time and what you're doing with your life, for sure. I have a big influence. That's what that brings to me all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we made it out of high school. Did we?
You're circling back real far.
So talk to how did you got into auto body right after the waiter
rod shop.
job?
Yeah, the rod shop.
Tell us about the rod shop.
Rod shop.
And
it's
tell
for
us,
sale.
it is?
Yeah, it is. No, so the rod shop is Tim and Ed, great guys. They would do high-end restoration work. That's where I started in auto body. I had a really good influence there. His name is Rich. I've kept in touch with. And he went on to do like Apache helicopters. He works, Sikorsky and stuff. But yeah, that was, the first introduction into repairing cars. I learned a lot there really quick. They taught me the basics of welding, filler work, paint work, a lot, basically, anything. And from there, I went to a small independent shop, worked my way to get an opportunity to work for Ford for a special project. For Fish Tank Kings, the owner of the dealership wanted to build a Volkswagen bus with a fish tank in it, and it was going to get put on a TV show. So I did that when I was about 21, 20. It was like the hardest 2 months of my life. I was building this crazy Volkswagen van. Good and bad emotions, high stress. I literally worked a 24-hour shift on this van at the time.
Just because there was a deadline?
There's a deadline, and it was literally me doing all of the work. I literally cut the side of the van open and made the van hinge open, and just tons of crazy fab work to try and make this all work. And I'm literally still only a few years in. I was creative, had a lot of energy, and good direction at that point, but I didn't necessarily have the skills at all to do something of this magnitude. But it was really cool. I got put on that TV show, was featured in it, and but my hard work landed me the job at Ford, which I worked for 6 years. And that's when I really kind of became like a body technician, learned how to do framework, panel sectioning, worked as a body technician. But I love the finish work. I love to paint. I was already learned how to paint at that time. I wasn't there painting their cars and stuff, but I started to paint the used cars for the department. And, it's something that I really love to do. And I love all aspects of repair. So eventually I outgrew the opportunity there. The shop slowed up, management changes. I got,
Just the TV show?
Yeah.
If people want to go find that?
Fish Tank Kings. It's like Volkswagen bus. I think it's on YouTube, but you'd have to pay.
Yeah.
It's cringeworthy for sure.
So just search that, Fish Tank Kings Volkswagen bus?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And, not to go down my whole resume, if that's what we're doing here.
No, I mean, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
It's really cool. It's still stuck around at the dealer. This is a family-owned dealer at the time. Great local family business, been around forever. And they built a Volkswagen dealership. That's part of it. And then eventually they had sold both dealers. But, getting to work there was a great opportunity. That was the gentleman I mentioned. His name was Gil. I worked under him. And, he taught me so much about fixing cars. But as I was going to say, they, with changes of management, I wanted to work as an adjuster. I wanted to work in the office. I wanted to become the manager. And, I think the manager at the time, maybe whatever, just passed on me many times. I was too valuable as a tech, as, you can say. So I eventually got a different job. I worked at an independent shop, a really busy shop. They service probably 7-8 different dealer accounts, as an OEM repair shop, DRPs, doing probably $5 million a year at the time, I think. And I went start to finish, which was a great opportunity. So it got me off of doing heavier hit jobs. Like when I showed up, man, they were literally gonna shove cars on top of you until you couldn't breathe. That's what they did. So, but right away, once they realized that I was pretty quick at the smaller type work, the more, I was efficient and good. And after learning their paint system there, I just became start to finish, and it was great. It was a great place to work. Really get used to a harder pushing pace, and learned a lot about their dynamic personalities altogether, how they ran their business. That's when I mentioned like they wouldn't turn a job away, which you do have to do. I think if you have employees, you have to have you have to have an understanding of like capturing keys is so important. But yeah, working. So I knew about Paintless Dent Repair when I worked at Ford. We had a guy who'd come around, and nobody was really a fan of, and neither was I. So I never paid much attention to dent repair. And then working in that shop, when I changed, they had a technician who would do body work and do dent work and travel for Hale. So when he left, I seen him doing repair work, and I was like, this is really cool. That's what sparked my interest. I ended up buying tools and trying to teach myself and watch online, and that's really like what started the dent repair. As an overview.
So it was that shop that you started practicing, and that they would eventually sell PDR work?
Yeah, so the tech that I mentioned, he would do their dent repair work. They would sell dents, right? And, get a cut, obviously. But once he left for hail season, I had already bought my first couple of tools. I was like 3 months into trying to teach myself. And I was like, hey, they started calling the outside companies. I was like, hey, don't do that. Like, I can do this. I was like, you should give me a shot. So a customer would show up. I would go up front. I would sell the job. I'd price it, and I'd fix the car. And,
How long ago was this?
Man, this is like 5 years ago. Something like that, at least over 5 years ago. About 5 years ago. And, but yeah, so I was selling the jobs directly to the customers, and I would fix them, and I'd get a 50% commission, which is good when you're an employee. It wouldn't beat my regular repair work, but eventually it did within a year, within a year. And I, was taking on these really hard jobs, like pretty hard jobs. And eventually my skills continued to grow in the shop, to the point where I just kind of like I mentioned about pricing, I felt like we were way undervaluing how well my repair work was. And it was quite obvious. And I wanted them to sell it. So what would happen is I wouldn't lose a lot of jobs, but, I would look at a dent and want to price it accordingly. Because I knew, I was going to get paid an amount, but also what I was going to provide. And if I lost a sale, it was like the end of the world. So then eventually...
To the owners or to the managers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think they got worried about me leaving or stealing customers, of course. And they basically were like, look, we don't want you to price the jobs anymore. We're going to price the jobs. And you're not allowed to talk to customers. And this was, and I was like, okay, I don't think it's going to be good, but like, okay. So they started pricing jobs, and then it definitely came to a halt. There was a job, and I have like photos of it, maybe even on my website, but it's Ultima trunk. It's a football-sized dent in the trunk through the letters, not an easy dent, $250. So I'm going to get $125 to fix this. And I'm like, hey man, like, look, like I can't, we can't fix this for $250. Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, and he's like, what do you mean this will come right? And there was this whole argument, about how easy it was. And the misconception, they're spoiled with good workers. And, so I fixed the job, fixed it beautifully, to the point I started to fix jobs, and they would be like, they couldn't believe that the result was coming out good too. There was a job that was also very pivotal. There's this black Acura trunk and ugly dent. And the owner knew the person and asked me to do it, not expecting me to fix it. And I sat there forever and fixed this car. And when I was done, it was almost like he was unhappy that I fixed it. I'm telling you, this is how it felt. I'm serious, because it just, I don't know. It's just, this is how it all felt at the time, at least. But anyways, of course, like many other people.
Because he thought you were maybe stealing work.
No, with
from
that
the shop, or why was he mad, you think?
With the result, because I think he didn't realize it would come out so good, or maybe because he priced it at $500 and that he promised them it wasn't going to look good or whatever. I really don't know. I remember that the other people in the shop had told me like how he made remarks about the job afterwards, you know, and this is all quite some time ago, but I remember, you know, and this is already when things are more conflicted, maybe not feeling the best. So yeah, I had great influence, and I've mentioned him before, Juan Baqueta, you know, PDR 360. Stanley Thomas had put me in touch with him at the time. You know, we're not all that far away from each other. So I'd already been speaking to him, getting some good influence and advice. He invited me down to hang out with him for the day. And he basically said, like, hey, man, like, if you've done X, Y, Z and you're prepared and, like, you're a great employee. If you leave and start a business, you know, what's the worst that could happen? Go get a job, right? And then that's the truth. That's where the position I had finally put myself in, and that's what really led me to start the business, is just knowing that, like, even if I fail, what really could go wrong here? It took a lot of hard work. That was in the time, you know, my father-in-law had passed, and I took their home, and I had renovated it also at the time. So, like, I was in a hard place. You know, I was doing like 100 hours of body work a week and renovated the house at night and on the weekends.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was still trying to learn PDR. And I was just working like a dog. And, you know, but doing that, and God bless my mother-in-law who loves me, you know, allowed me to benefit from that sale, you know, fixing that house, making it, you know, all of that so much. And, you know, that gave me the leverage that I needed and the opportunity, you know, by having a couple dollars in my pocket to start the biz, you know. So, yeah.
A little financial freedom for you to be able to walk away and not.
Yeah, you know, I said, hey, if I have a certain dollar amount saved, I can do this, like, you know, because I'll be able to survive for X amount of times. It was the first time in my life I really kind of had any bit of cushion, you know.
Do you feel
Big push.
So how many months worth of money did you
Tried to have a year.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so do you, if someone else is in a similar situation,
Try to have like 50K basically. At the time, it was like 50 something thousand I had. I
Would-
don't mind sharing it.
would you say for someone in a similar situation, they need to have that, or could you have done it with less, or should they?
Depends on
What would you say?
experience, depends on confidence of skill, there's so many factors. Like if
Yeah.
I was advising somebody,
Yep.
you know, how confident in your skills? How good are you at marketing? What do you have in place? What other pieces of the puzzle do you have? Do you have a vehicle ready for this? Are you fully outfitted with tools? Like, how prepared are you? I tried to be very prepared, you know, leaning on the safe side.
And are you going all in, or are you going part time,
All in,
pinky
baby.
toe in? Like that's the thing. You know,
Exactly.
Like
I wouldn't encourage half in, half out, especially what I was experiencing. I think if you have an employee over you who's not reaping the rewards of your hard work, they can get spiteful. You don't want to get fired on the spot. You know, that's one thing that was like Thomas was informing me. He's like, you know, don't keep running towards the train. Eventually you get run over. You know what I mean? You keep facing the bull. You know what I'm saying? Because I would get into these arguments with the management, the owners, you know, stating my case, you know. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, if I was to, and I've done this before, I actually encouraged a local mobile paint guy to leave and start his own business before. That was a couple of years ago. I gave him all the free advice that I could. You know what I mean? But everybody's picture is going to be different, and how much risk are you willing to take? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So would you say that you reaching out to those guys, Thomas and then the other guy, are
Very influential at the time, for sure.
so that you would recommend someone do that if they're thinking about this, find somebody to help mentor you through it?
Yeah, if you can, for sure, of course. Who wouldn't want help? You know, who doesn't want a team of people or a person to lean on and ask the questions that need to be answered, the hard questions, or make you feel like it's going to be okay? Yeah. You know, what does that look like for you? It might be different than what I had going on, right? You know, but yes, being able to call Matt across the state, like, hey, Matt, what do you do when you face this? And, you know, try to develop some business friends. It was, you know, this is the day and age of the internet. Like the fact that I'm here with you guys is incredible. So being in the body shop, I had already started to do stories, right? So I was doing stories of myself and all my work, and people were like finding me, you know, watching me. I was talking to like Ryan Shutt a lot. That's another great guy who gave me great advice, you know, or like Joe Denivo. So, you know, the power of the internet can be great. You can talk to good people and see what's working for them, you know. But yeah, that one day was pushed me off the cliff when he was just like, hey, like if you've already set, you know, this aside and you can do this and you have that much time of cushion, like, hey, just do it. So, but starting a business in COVID was very interesting. You know, that's really the start of my business when you're trying to solicit businesses with a mask on your face, or you walk in and the receptionist is like, got a sterile wall in front of you, and it was pretty tricky.
So what year and month did you start your business?
Thanksgiving, I quit. That was 4 full years ago.
Of 2020?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, Thanksgiving.
So we were already into COVID.
Yeah, baby. Deep. Yeah, no, I did. I quit the week of Thanksgiving, you know, and that all went really well. And I still have a ton of respect for them. I don't business network with them and work with these guys anymore, but I still will send jobs there that are fitting, and, you know, hard to deny how successful their body shop is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to look at someone else's business and see the gaps in their business and think, I would do this different. But like, it's hard to know the nuances of someone's business and why it is the way that it is, and the, you know, the real big things that are turning the gears that they are aware of that you just, you know.
For me, when I started in auto body, and this is what's tough, is I always said I don't want to own a body shop. I don't, man. Because like the percentages that you work at and the price per hour, and it's so challenging. Like auto body is rough. I think running a business in auto body is pretty tough, you know. So that's why I'm very thankful to become a specialist. Obviously, becoming a specialist is to your advantage, you know, no matter what type of field. But if you can become extremely high skilled, you're going to find success. You know, that's what like Sal was always telling me. He's like, you don't want to just be a dent guy. You want to be able to like be the only guy in your market who can deliver like the highest quality and fix the ugliest thing. Because no matter what, that will be in demand. Like, you know, hard times, good times, like that's going to be around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I think I pursued like trying to get as good as possible as soon as possible. Yeah.
You started in 2020
Of my business.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
November.
Something like that.
Yeah, I opened this shop and I signed the lease on October of 20, and we had a month to build out before we opened our doors in November of 20. But my wife pointed out that this is the first time that we've had our business really under a Trump economy.
Oh, coming up. I know, man. I can't wait.
So
Let's go, baby.
yeah, we're pretty excited about what that looks like potentially. I mean, either way you split it, you know it's going to be stronger than it has been, hopefully.
There's certain things that are going to happen. I visited a CPA. I don't know nothing, so I'm speaking out of ignorance, but he mentioned to me how there was a ton of commercial loans that came about in 2020 that are expected to come to term at year 5, right, of this upcoming year. The fact that they did the rates and that the S&P just dropped, the market had dropped, he was telling me that, you know, expect interest rates to go up. Money's going to get even more expensive. You're going to watch a lot of people get squeezed. So, like, you know, like the whole commercial building thing conversation is like those who've got money laying around right now, and there's a lot of them you wouldn't think, like you're going to see some action happen, right? But like commercial building and building as a whole, like that industry, it'll be interesting what the economy does. I live in this area, man, where there's so much development below your mind, like countless, you know, communities getting built, homes on top of each other. It's nuts.
That's how this is here. It's just up, just blowing up.
Like service, you could never help everybody. You know, that's what I believe in. But
Before we came on, you were talking about accountability, that you were wanting that. Or was that yesterday we were talking? You wanted more accountability with your business, your repairs.
More accountability.
Yeah,
Goals.
yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. So 24, I was lackadaisy. I was definitely, I didn't set any big goals. So like the year before that, I ran a marathon, and like I was pretty in tune to what my business was doing, and I got to a position where I was like, okay, I don't have to go full speed ahead to be successful. I can still operate at a high level and be happy. And honestly, I think it was a great decision this past year. I think the 25, I mentioned I'm definitely more business hungry. I want to try to get ahead for financial goals, right? And other aspects of my life too. I want to set a new goal. I still haven't defined it, so it's not like I can speak it right now and hold myself to it. But getting back towards health again would be number one priority. Try to be a good husband is number two priority, or both of those combined. And, the business comes third. I put in a ton of effort. I would say my lesser effort is still very high. I'm there every day. I'm booked out multiple weeks generally. And I'm very, very productive, but, I'm not shaking down doors and advertising and doing some of the strategies I've implemented in the past to get myself more and more work, or being accountable to marketing, right? So edited media, and you guys know more than anybody, doing something edited is so difficult. And when you're a one-man band, it's like impossible. I used to come home and all those repairs, I would edit them and try and put something out or be on Instagram. Or the only thing that I really think that is worthwhile is doing edited YouTube videos. That's something that can pay you back forever. Customers can find you back forever. It's that proof. It's so accessible, and so many people use that platform.
Social proof.
Yeah, man, it's super valuable. I've won so many jobs that way. I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. I would love to make some more edited videos. What I've done is I've bought Ray-Ban Meta glasses. I like to do live videos on Facebook, right? I'll just go over what I'm fixing in my shop for the day or what I'm got going on. It allows me to talk about topics freely, like insurance coverage, how it is to get your car covered with insurance, different scenarios that I cover and things I do. So I've been doing live videos this year. How much does it work? I don't know. I've had people reach out through it. I think it's pretty informative and good and easy. I like that easy button, but if I could put out edited content, that'd be great. It's even to the point, man, I thought about like just hiring an assistant. Like, how much would I have to pay somebody to be my video guy, and like do the odds and ends, and like how much income would I lose out on? Would it make my life easier and happier? It might be really fun.
It's a discipline
Might
for
be.
sure.
I don't have the time for it.
I don't
have the time for it.
I don't either.
I can't.
So here's the other thing.
Yeah.
If you hire somebody, like somebody to do that is easy to find. But
Not to fix the dents, right?
I mean, to do like your video edit for you, that kind of type of thing. But
What does it cost, James?
to find somebody that's actually going to make videos that actually get traction, that is a different thing.
Level.
That is hard. That's hard to do.
I bet.
So this idea of the time it takes to do this stuff is my world. It's
Yeah.
horrible. Like the time it takes to put this stuff out is it's crazy.
Oh yeah, man. Hats off to you.
Here's what I will say is like what I really find enjoyment in is doing the things that will stand the test of time and that you could be proud of. Like there's some things that we've done that one of them that comes to mind is the how PDR tools are made with Chris Presley
That's
video,
a cool one. That's a
where we
good
just followed the start to finish creating of a tool, a body line slayer. I mean, I'm so glad that we did that. Like all the effort and the time that went into that, I'm so proud that exists. And so like finding stuff like that to where
you're motivated to document it. I did
Yes.
this repair that I was so motivated to document, and it came out the way I wanted it to. but I never edited it. Never put it out. I think my best repairs are not released for sure. I know they are.
And this, so
Which
that
sucks.
we didn't plan on making that video. We just planned on documenting that trip to A1 and all this stuff. But it was almost just like spur of the moment that happened. So it wasn't pre-planned, but whenever you are doing a repair video, you have to pre-plan. I'm gonna record this. And it takes so much time and effort to do that when your brain is thinking, this is so hard. How am I going to fix this? And also, I need to record this in a way that's compelling. Dude, that's a lot.
It is.
It is very difficult.
Well, I've said to myself, is it worth the time and effort? Because this year, doing lives and so forth, is I've said it many times, is like I care much more about giving you better service. And like you can easily get a hold of me. You know, you can easily stop by. I would rather put my effort into the repair, into the process that I'm interacting with my clients, how they get in touch with me, how I update them constantly or whatever I'm doing for them. I'd rather focus on improving all of those areas of my business than rather like making videos. It definitely means more to me.
At the end of the day, your videos should drive your business, right? So
Yeah.
if you're booked out, you know, there's not
Without
a huge...
them.
Exactly.
You don't need it.
I was having a conversation with one of our friends locally who was like, man, I really need to start doing this more. And I was asking him about his business, and I'm like, your business is where where you want it to be. He's not trying to grow from what he's at. And I'm like, dude, you have no need to do this. This is a whole nother job and a whole long road, long commitment. Like, you don't need to. I wouldn't do it. It's too much for what? There's not a goal that you're trying to meet through this. So like, I wouldn't, no chance I would do that if I were you.
So the only video that really is hit many times for me is like the motorcycle repair video. It's not even the repairs that I would want to continue attracting, but like that video's got like 25,000 views or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'll get out of state motorcycle dent, you know, and people for that, but it can be so powerful, right?
But that's the thing is that you can't control. Like even if
Sure.
you put in all the work,
You don't know what's going to hit.
you don't know what one's going to hit.
Correct.
And you're kind of left to the roll the dice, or you know how it's received to the general public. So if you had like a guarantee return on every video that you did, you'd obviously do a lot more. But some of them are absolute bombs that get. I've done repair videos and I'm thinking, oh, this is going to crush it, and it comes out and it's like, wah, wah. Like no one's, it doesn't get any views. And other ones, it's like, why did someone watch that?
I think a base catalog and make sure you've got like small to big covered and it's all really easy, digestible and clear cut and shows good results, then that may be good enough, right?
But you have to.
You have to have something.
Yes, but you have to have a goal in mind that content is trying to help you meet, or else there's no point to it.
The one of the strongest aspects of me was getting really good reviews in my business. And it definitely this year, I just don't ask for them. Still have gotten organic.
You never ask for them?
Generally not, man. I'm not doing it like I know I should, and you should, because most clients either are unaware or they don't really know how to access where to give you a review, or how simple just the feedback can be to leave. I'm very proud of the ones I have because they're great quality when people read into them. I think I have 264 5-star reviews. So it's great, but like, man, to become an outlier, I think is extremely strong. There's certain businesses that I know of that are just straight outliers. Like you have 4 times the amount of reviews compared to the average. If you do that in your market, like it's undeniable, right? That's something that I think would be way more impactful than spending how many hours to do one video, of energy. If you could just get a higher ratio of your clients to leave you a review, but it actually mattered, they were doing it for the right reasons. You weren't buying the reviews. I know certain people do. It's terrible. But I think I think for me, I would much rather put my time there next year. Like, but really wow somebody, man. Make them happy to where they want to give you that review and make it easy, right? I think that's going to pay me back double. So, like, that's higher on the list than, like, making the video.
I think you should also overlay it with what do you want to do. Like,
Yeah.
Like that has to be a thing, because if you're doing it and you don't want to do it, it's not going to be a sustainable thing. Like if you're forcing yourself, now there's a discipline. Of course, there's a discipline thing that nobody wants to get up and work out, but you have a discipline that overrides that, right? So, like, of course, you have to implement a certain amount of discipline, but at the end of the day, you still got to have the desire to do certain things, or else you're just not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
And so I've tried editing videos. I have no desire to edit videos. The extent that I edit videos is on Instagram, on Reels, while I can do it quickly. And that's all I'm really going to provide, like, at this point, because I'm doing other things that I want to do, which is sitting here doing this, or building tools, like, or flying to St. Louis day one, or doing the things that I want to do. And so you have to kind of have that as the thing, because it's not going to be a sustainable thing.
So I feel it ties into, like, how much creative energy we have to give. And our job is taking that creative energy, and I don't want to zap it. Like, do you have anything? You mentioned, like, building tools. I'm sure that can kind of, like, maybe amp you up or, like, kind of fuel the fire. Do you guys have stuff that, like, get you pumped on dents, or, like, will, kind of bring you back into it and add a little more motivation towards it if you're feeling a little zapped on it? You ever get that way?
First thing that comes to my mind is MTE.
Okay.
I mean, that
it
pumps me up for PDR more than
There we
anything.
go.
I mean, I really feel like,
shout out to Kevin Bird.
dude, I mean, being at MTE, I feel like I have to do that if I'm going to stay in this business. Like, I don't know.
I go every year.
You
since
know,
day
like,
one. Yeah,
It's
awesome.
You gotta get re-motivated and, like, be around people and re-energized. But I feel like that is, whatever investment that is, it's worth it, because it's preventing me from burning out.
Is once a year enough, or would you?
That's all I've been so far.
Gotcha.
But I'm not just an isolated person. Like, I'm connected to other people. So
Yeah.
Creatively, though, I really like watching movies, documentaries, following brands that I like, to be motivated and inspired to do other stuff.
Do you have any other hobbies that you pursue or doing right now? Do you got something else going on?
Hobby-wise,
Yeah.
the only other thing I do is really surfing.
Okay.
And in the winter, I've almost pretty much quit surfing in the winter, because I don't like it anymore.
Okay.
I don't like being cold.
I hate being cold.
I don't like the vibe of being in cold water, even with a wetsuit.
But when summer hits or spring,
It's relaxing, like you're saying, of being out there fishing for tarpon. Like, the whole experience in the summer is great,
yeah.
but the
I'm not
whole
fishing
experience
right
in the
now.
winter, I'm like, I don't know if it's just because I'm old and crotchety now, but I'm good. I'm almost good with that decision. Where, like, I don't want to do that in the winter anymore.
Yeah. My boat's got cobwebs right now. I'm super guilty.
Yeah.
Parked. What about you? You got something you're, like, fixated or hobby wise? You got something going on?
Dude, there's building guns and shooting guns.
Guns is you.
That's all this last 2 years.
Yeah.
You know what I found was that when I chased hail, I would have, you have these seasons where you're just nothing but eating dents all day, 12-hour days, 6-7 days a week for months and months and months. And so you have no other energy for anything but the job. And then you come home and you might sit around for a couple months. And at some point it's relaxing. And the other point, there's a little anxiety, because I'm like, man, I got to do something. Like, feel like I'm wasting time sitting around here, and you start getting that itch to go. And so with this now, with being full time, essentially running this business, it's not as, I don't have this
Peaks and valleys.
demand as much. I'm a little bit more level as far as, but I do have found that I have to disconnect more, like, because we could be here. I could be working 7 days a week here, for sure.
He does a lot. Like he works a lot. He works
Yeah.
7 days a week sometimes.
Really?
I could be working 7 days a week here on top of what other projects we're doing with recording or this and so I have to physically say, give me something that's not dent related that still gets the juices flowing that I can geek out on. And so the guns has been a thing for me this last 2 years, and then the building of the guns, because it's like building of the tools and all, it's very mirror image of my PDR journey a little bit, and so but it's newer for me that I'm excited to be doing, and it's a good break from. You walk to a gun store, no, there's not a dent tool. Nobody knows what I do. It's a completely unfamiliar thing that's new, and it's interesting, and it's a good side thing for me.
Yeah, personally, if I don't have something to escape with, and especially work, you mentioned like you'll have that downtime where you're relaxed, and then all of a sudden you're like anxious. When I'm not working or busy, like I'm totally anxious. I have to have something to do. But when I find times that I'm so involved in work and dents and cars and I'm just lost in it, I'm not my happiest or best person at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have to have something else to release some other energy. Otherwise, it's not good. There's been times of my life where I don't have anything else going on but work, and it's definitely not as enjoyable as a person, So I try now to keep hobbies. Yeah. I'm playing golf, baby.
Really?
Yeah, I'm playing golf right now. So we're 3 months into playing
You're
golf.
at a podcast right now. Sorry,
Oh.
buddy.
Sorry.
That's back the that
Sorry, guys.
movie sketch, I threw it on the ground, Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
That's what I just did. That's not my dad. That's a cell phone.
So,
Are you enjoying it?
I am, yeah. I like very much like dents, how it's your own personal journey. It's not you versus the other guy down the street. It's really you versus you. I love technical individual sports and or hobbies and things of interest.
Mm-hmm.
You can progress the rest of your life. And yeah, you can grow with skill. You can do it the rest of your life. It's really good. Usually you're in a really nice environment and place. You're out on a golf course, right? So yeah, I like technical things as well. So like the clubs are very technical. You can go down a rabbit hole with that. So a lot of my friends were already playing, so it's something that I've picked up here recently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that
If I can do a hobby or an activity, and the moment I start, everything else goes blank, it's a hit.
yes, that's
exactly. So I've had many things like that, and this is one of those. Like the moment you arrive in the parking lot, you will never have a separate thought in your head except for me ball, hit ball, downfield. Like that's it, dude.
Yes.
Like
Me ball, hit ball,
me ball,
downfield.
beep, beep, beep. Yeah. So locating target. So yeah, golf is very much like that. It requires a lot of focus. So it's going to take you away from your outside worries,
When I pull up the gun range, the phone goes
Yeah.
in the truck. I put ear protection on.
Yeah.
You don't think about your phone. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm focused on what I'm doing, which is dangerous inherently. And so you have to be fully invested in what you're doing. And it completely can disconnect me from this in a physical way. I am like off grid essentially and fully invested in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it still checks all the same boxes for me, as far as how I'm made, and satisfies all those things, a technical thing and a gear thing, all those things. It's like, and I'm building a skill set, and it's a whole different community, whole different crowd.
So I was going to ask next. I bet you run into really pretty great people, interesting people. It's got to be pretty good. Did you find the gun community
I met the most interesting person I've ever met in my life this year. Yeah.
sick?
The Dos Equis guy?
No.
Oh.
No.
Got him.
It was like this person. Like I realized that I was in the person in the room was a different type of person than I've ever been around. Like it was like. No offense to y'all, but no, I'm saying it was like
After 3 hours, I didn't win him over.
there was a
James, you and me.
there was a wow factor that like
We're here.
Wow,
with
dude.
this guy.
It's like, just so you guys know about this guy.
yeah no I mean I'm not fanboying. I'm just saying
No, for
like,
sure, yeah.
he was different, not just how he carried himself, but just like it was like drastically like wow, he's a separate human here.
Getting in a room with individuals and having combos that like you don't get out of the people in your immediate circles is really good.
Oh yeah.
I wish I got more outside influence. So like when I was running, that was good. I was getting around a lot of different people, even though that's a solo little small sport. But like running events, or I was running and bumping into people more often. You know, I think at golf courses you can do that too. You can run into people, you know, maybe meet different people. So I've already picked up a few different connections in that field, from that field or part of my life. So yeah, other hobbies at times I felt like were too isolated. We'll see. I think golf's pretty social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're over the 3 hour mark.
Are we?
Is there anything you want to talk about that we haven't hit on?
No, honestly, I think you guys asked me some great questions.
I really enjoyed this. I think this is one of our best episodes. I think we just naturally hit on like a lot of really interesting, good things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
I find both of you guys really interesting, and what you're doing is fantastic. Honestly, it was very easy to chat with you. On honestly, getting to talk about yourself can be uncomfortable, but I think we right away spoke about other topics that are deeply involved in my life. So it was pretty fun.
We just had a conversation.
Yeah,
and that's all we want, is just to have a good conversation.
Yeah.
And when you're having a good conversation, 3 hours goes by like that. So we're learning. I mean, it's been, we've had a good lineup so far. We're interested in who else will come through these doors, and pretty pumped.
Check out the online training program. Honestly, I know we started with that, but what you're doing has got to have some huge value. If that was around when I was starting, I would have subscribed. Definitely would have done it.
So
Definitely would.
we haven't really put this out yet, but we have a affiliate program. So you can, if you sign up and get an account through the free course that we have, which is PDR Quick Start, you can become an affiliate to where you can refer people to a course, and then you make a commission off of it too. So like there's a lot of opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in my DMs, you know where you're going for training now.
Boom.
Yeah.
Matt, was there a tool you wanted to talk about?
Oh yeah. Give me a second to open it up.
He's pulled a hammer off the wall, and it's encased in a plastic wrapper. He's now opening it. He's struggling to get the plastic torn.
So we got these new telescopic hammers that just came out this year, and man, I've been looking for a good telescopic hammer for a long time, and I've seen a couple. In Italy, there was a couple companies that had some, and but I wanted to create one that checked all the boxes that I was looking for as far as a blending hammer or an extendable blending hammer, and I wanted it super lightweight on the end so that when it's out full extension, it's not super heavy to manipulate. We want it as light as possible, so it's when it's at full extension, you can get some good movement out of it. And we really wanted it to be stable when it was extended, because nothing more aggravating when something's extended like this and you're trying to work and there's rattle and movement, and it's just not. And so this one's been fantastic. And I actually use it a lot, just even in the short version, which it's longer than most blending hammers, even at its shortest. But it just has a good weight to it, even at the shortest. And it's got aluminum. It's got a anodized hard coating on the aluminum head, and it's just got 2 tapped ends where you can put whatever tip you want, build it out how you want, and this nice 3D printed collar for gripping the ring here, and then the ball end. But man, just feel that thing.
And the head won't. When you have it locked in, the head won't twist, right?
Yeah, when it won't spin.
It won't spin.
Like this way.
Okay. No twist to it.
And the twist.
Yeah, so
it stays indexed.
Matt did a show with Ryan Shutt years ago that I keyed in on, and he was talking about how he's got like these mega long hammers. That made me buy a long hammer way back in the day. This is sick.
Yeah.
Is it left and right? That's it? To pop it back in? Yeah,
Oh, it's a full turn.
Full
yeah,
turn?
I mean, you have to loosen it fully and then tighten it fully, but...
So this could replace 2 of the hammers on my cart, because this is about the length of like my normal hammer that I use on rails, which I use very, very, very similar. The carbon's super nice. Have you already played with one of these, or do you have one yet?
No,
Bro,
Matt,
listen,
hands it to me.
He's had it for me,
It's sick.
and every time I'm here, I always forget. So today I have to.
The Low Pro body hammer is in my hand every day.
Me too.
Straight up. If you don't have it, you need it. It's really critical.
Yeah.
The energy transfer is important when you hit a knockdown and accuracy. It's just right, and the length fits in a Milwaukee pack out.
There you go.
You know how Matt does it. So
I use that thing constantly
every day. Yeah, because I used to beat up all my blending hammers, but it doesn't. You're overworking the tap downs and what you're trying to do. It doesn't put the correct energy into the knockdown itself.
Sure.
Big advocate for it. I'm sure this is going to work out great.
This is great. For hail damage roofs or extended roofs where you're working from the back or just getting far out blending, we all know the farther you can get.
You think that this isn't needed, but I will tell you, technician-wise, like 100%, if I'm finishing dents now, it's with something this long.
Yeah.
Like at least 80% of the time, I'm using something this long. I have one long hammer in my shop that gets used, but it makes finishing faster. It will make you faster.
Yeah. Oh, I've been wanting this for a long time, and it just happened, and I'm pumped about it. We'll bring these to MTE. Obviously, they're on the website now. You can buy them. We released it Black Friday. We have a shorter version too, which is just a fixed blending hammer, but we'll save that for another day. But I was really pumped about this. This was pretty exciting. So PDRtool.com is where you can find it. So Jim's been awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for driving up. Good story. Good discussion.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Marcio, thank you. Shout out Easy For You Media,
Thank
Yep.
you.
making it easy for us.
Making it easy for
We
us.
wouldn't be doing this without them.
That's right. That's right. All right. Appreciate you guys.
Good job, y'all.
Later.
The Dent Slayer, Matt Boyette. Thank you so much for being here.
She's smooth.